Woo! What's up, everybody? Another BGS after party. The Millennial versus the Boomer. See, we ain't doing no music tonight, man. We ain't doing no music. The closest thing we'll do is the introduction.
Woo!
That's all we doing tonight. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put the goddamn link in here, and I want to hear everybody's arguments with this shit. Since nobody got on the panel, we're gonna start this motherfucker up, okay? And I need to hear this shit. I need to hear this one because I never got why so many millennials got angst for the boomers. I'm just not understanding this shit. It doesn't make sense. Y'all gonna have to explain some shit to me. This shit doesn't sound too cute.
What's going on? What's going on, Charles? Let me get all the niceties out the way first. What's going on with you, player?
It's gonna be all kinds of fuckery.
Yo, I'm gonna start it off. You motherfucking traitor, you millennial traitor, off with your motherfucking head.
I don't get along with very few millennials. If you're not born today, it's very few millennials I get along with openly, man. If it wasn't my close friend, you bunch of crybaby motherfuckers. I never seen a bunch of
motherfucker. I was like, look at Charles. Oh, Benedict Arnold ass motherfucking traitor skin. You goddamn you.
I don't identify with no goddamn millennials. I just
whether you identify or not, you Larry Elder ass motherfucker. You know you ain't Larry Elder. That's fucked up. But
I can't identify with lazy ass people, man. You got to do some type of work and not expect
we're gonna be doing work when we take this goddamn axe to your neck, motherfucker. You.
Well, you know, if it's a millennial, you know, Yahoo's ain't deep enough. So, well, we know if it came to executions, you know, this is how millennial would do.
They would hang you to. I ain't gonna lie.
They would either get queasy because of their weak ass nature, or they would give you the switch to hand you. Oh, go kill yourself when you're ready. Here you go.
here's a tag, and here's some gluten free.
Some gluten free. What the fuck's a gluten? You ate what the fuck your parents ate. Unless you were definitely allergic or some shit. You ate what the fuck your parents cooked for you.
What they call it when they feed you before you die? Like they give you whatever you want to eat. I forgot what it's called. There's a term for that shit. But like, what do you want? Gluten-free tacos or gluten-free pizza? Gluten.
So you're trying to kill me early then?
Yeah,
that's what you're trying to do. Kill me early.
You know? BGS is some real shit. Name a millennial politician that you would vote for president. I was like, oh shit, and I'm a millennial.
If I'm not mistaken,
I can't think of one.
I think AOC was the first millennial Congress member.
I'll never vote that bitch to be president.
No, me neither. No. I don't like her. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think she was the first Congress member that was a millennial. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody fact check me on that, but I think so.
I'm gonna tell you what's terrible about it, right? when you gotta understand this. If your parents were boomers, they literally went to segregated fucking schools.
Yep.
And you're gonna get some idiots.
Silent generation.
You're gonna get idiots who think it was so much better dealing with you can't use the bath. You can't put your shit and piss in this urinal because you're black. You motherfuckers are can't even get the concept of making a gay joke.
Right.
You fought for gay rights instead of your own rights.
You could look at a white girl and get yourself killed.
But the only thing I would push back on,
not even look at the white girl, look in the direction of a white girl and get lynched.
True. But the only part I would push back on BGS because so I couldn't come up on the panel because I'm actually at work right now, so there go the lazy bum part of the conversation. But no it's because number one, so I wanted to go up, but not I don't want to attack boomers because I do think boomers had a particular plight, right? Especially black boomers, right? I don't discount what they went through, but to defend millennials because even the demographers and the historians are like for recent times, millennials were handed a particularly garbage economy, a particularly garbage situation. Because remember, we were coming of age with the dot-com bubble, then you get hit with the housing recession, then as you crawl out the slime, you get hit with
COVID happened.
COVID recession. Exactly. So it's not to say that other generations haven't had their plights, but it is to say that you literally push a generation back, and I think that's half the reason why so many of us are immature. It's not, especially as black millennials. I don't know how many black millennials actually got participation trophies. I
A
know I
lot of
didn't.
them. A lot of
know,
them.
Yeah,
A
I
more than
don't know
lot
what the hell
of
it
them.
was, but
you'd
not
be surprised more than you think.
yeah.
A
But
lot of them.
from I don't know. Well, I don't know any. And maybe it's because where I grew up in South Florida. I don't know if we're one of those. Well, the region I grew up in, maybe they just weren't doing that shit. But I once again, I think it's easy to beat up on millennials because you see the arrested development, but we don't actually take into account the factors, and then what it
Okay.
means to raise a child at this time
Okay.
of. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hmm.
Here's the shit, right? Here's the shit that gets me. I'm a parent. I'm a so-called millennial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parenting is something that's a 24/7 job. Most millennials and late Xers do not understand that shit. Okay?
Agreed. Unfortunately.
You're talking to a guy who's dated everybody from 33 to 44. Okay? Hell, even at some parts, 20 something in my 30s, in my early 30s. A lot of these bitches don't want to be 24-hour parents. A lot of these Negroes don't want to be. You have a bunch of people who think the school is supposed to teach you,
Supposed to be your babysitter.
your babysitter. And here's the crazy part. Most of you don't even teach her. I was supposed to go out with a girl last week, and she has a 17-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. Of course, it's not about the same guy, but I got to cook food for my kids. Okay, that's nice that you cook food for your kids, but wait a minute. Your son doesn't know how to cook? You said you fell asleep later than we supposed to go out and you got to cook. Your son doesn't know how to sleep? Like, did you teach your boy to
17.
survive?
I knew how to cook at 12 and 13. Good Lord. And my father
And
taught
the,
me.
and the man, who are you?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you this morning? Actually,
Okay, who are you again?
I visit the space. You guys may. I mean, I
He's
know
one of
Mr.
Earl's
Z,
boys.
You
but yeah,
gotta understand that. And how you doing, man? You
we're
gotta
doing all right.
understand. When I look at shit, I mean, you gotta look it through the eyes of both millennials and boomers. When when you're starting out in your life in a segregated place, fuck everything else. Especially when the first parts of your life, if not a good part of it, you're marginalized because of your race. Not because you suspect it, because that's what the law said. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at it, boomers will tell you, damn, we should have never took that fucking switch out of that fucking school. So I went to private schools till high school. They will whoop your ass. And here's the crazy part. No real generation really looked for inheritance, not in the black community, because we were the definitions of don't work, don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Section 8 and all this other shit, this is new to us. Okay? All that shit from the recession or the Great Depression, when they came up with the welfare systems and shit, or a variation of it, that wasn't to help black folks. They didn't make the white man leave that fucking place.
Nope.
So when I look at it, you got a bunch of people saying, well, we had it so hard. And a lot of our parents were on drugs. Not really. And even still, you had the safety net of your grandparents. Because two of my best friends for the last 26 years had to be raised by their grandparents because, their parents were hooked on drugs. The boomers didn't have such luck. Okay? Because grandparents back then didn't have the income of grandparents now, or even 20, 30 years ago. When they said they're spoiled because they got pensions, nigga, I'm going to get a pension. I should be upset because I get a pension? No, nigga, I work for it.
Yeah, I got to say something. They work for that damn pension. I could see if they just sat on their ass and did nothing, but they had to work for that shit. Yeah, if you got a pension, you worked for it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And when I look at it, do I feel bad for millennials in some ways? Yes and no. Because instead of saying, you know what, we're going to rise on the backs and shoulders of the people before us, we're going to go back in time and whine. You got millennials who don't even want to go to the fucking military, but then complain about there's no jobs. They pretty much since the 90s, like BGS said, when they did college reform and welfare reform. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, the dumbest bitches for getting city jobs and going to college degree. That's why the college degree does not weigh as much as it did. My grandfather had an 8th grade education and was probably smarter than most motherfuckers with associates. Hell, probably smarter than most people with a bachelor's.
Agreed.
But you know why? Because you were given this fucking spiel about education rather than functionality. You ever notice why they never taught you how to balance a checkbook? A credit card, how to build credit, how to take care and maintain bills, functional shit. Because they're like, oh, well, if you pressure them, that's the reason why you got this stupid shit coming out. Well, the kids out there, it's so hard for them to do it. No, it isn't. We just don't want to talk about winners and losers. But go ahead, somebody else take the floor.
I wanted to emphasize something you said, and I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of pushback on the inheritance part, right? And why inheritance is going to matter so much more for millennials and Gen Z than it did for Xers and Boomers and whatnot. Okay, so what happens is, because of the concept, think of the concept of compound interest, right? And taking that money out later. What's happening is that as we progressed in millennial whites and Asians and Latinos who parents actually might have had some money, they were able to save that money up, and now they're going to pass it on to their children. They were able to move about in America during a time of extreme in-your-face anti-blackness and racism. So they're going to be able to give their kids that money. And so the gap between white and black is not going to be a gap anymore. It's going to be a chasm, right? So what you're going to see is that the certain things are going to become so astronomically expensive because of the preponderance of white people in Latinos and Asians who can't afford it, right? So $50,000-$60,000 a year is going to seem like small fries because white people who make that same amount of money you make will not only be living off of their income but inheritance, right? So that's why you're going to see, and you already see it now with the housing prices. and I'll shut up in one second, Charles. 1 second. The median house right now, and I just said a couple months ago it was 341 on Rogers channel. That bitch then shot up in 2 months to 360 something, 366 I think median price for a house right now in America. Why that matters is the people that are competing against those companies that are buying up all the houses are the people with grandma and grandpa's money, with dad and mom's money. So that's why it's become even more difficult. If you are a regular Joe black person, that doesn't mean it's impossible for you to find a house as a regular Joe black person who doesn't have an inheritance. It just means that it just became that much more difficult because you're competing with just you and your wife money or you by yourself money. They're using mom and dad's money, grandma and grandpa's money. And I'm just using that as an example to say that's how much more difficult everything in life is going to become. And I'll pause right there.
Let me just say this. Imagine being the first black family to move in a fucking suburb. Okay? We're gonna talk about We're gonna talk about inheritance as well. A lot of these boomers who couldn't give their children, their extra children, their fucking shit, they give it to millennials. You know what millennials do? They fucking sell it. And they don't sell it for what it's worth. They don't even try to haggle it. They don't even try to make it into something that the family can be stable. They want the quick dollar, but then guess what happens? You either sell it or you don't pay the taxes and it forecloses. Or guess what? When grandma and grandpa or mom and dad had their corner store, or their barber shop, or their beauty shop, or their mechanic shop, a lot of millennials didn't want to learn them skills. Guess what jobs were COVID proof this whole damn time? Some intricate skills that make America keep running.
I know because I worked the whole time.
And guess what? When you know how many motherfuckers I told on here, hey, I can help you become a police officer if you're in the DM hell, if you're in the United States and Puerto Rico. So I've always preached fire, military, police. We will allow white people to become generational. But for us to be generational, we don't even like it. And then look at the education system.
So let me ask the panel.
Before you go, man, I want to answer something that Charles said real quick. So there's a difference between boomers who were the first to move into a white neighborhood because some of these boomers had the money. They just because of racism they weren't able to move in there because of redlining or whatnot. There's a difference between that and not being able to afford it at all because the price is so astronomical because the people in that neighborhood aren't living off of their income, solely their income, but their parents' income.
Here's the crazy part. A lot of millennials will get menial jobs thinking you're supposed to live off of this for 20, 30 years to raise a family. A lot of them like these menial jobs. I don't feel like going to training.
Okay.
I had a homeboy who was a pharmacy tech at Mercy Medical. That's what they told him. They said, hey, you got to go to these trainings and take these classes or you're going to lose your job. You shouldn't have to be forced. As either you're going to do what you got to do to survive or not.
So I want to ask you guys a question. What generation is the panel?
This is millennial.
Millennials. All right. And so is the issue you guys think with the millennials? Is that what the issue is?
We're trying to look at we're questioning the angst between millennial and boomer.
Well, I mean, if you to me, I think it's the silent gens. I think that's the issue. So I'm going to use my own anecdotal experience, right? My grandmother and grandfather, the silent generation. My parents were born during the boomers, right? And a lot of people during that time, that was to me, the silent generation was a carryover in which they took care of everything for their kids, right? So my family and a lot of other families in my community in Chicago, they grew up with the silent gens paying for everything. And so And so that kind of, I don't know if you guys know, like that 70s show where the kids hung out in the garage and they hung out in the basement and they did whatever. Right. So that was the boomers. That was the boomers and some of the Gen Xers. Right. So with that being said, they were pretty much able to run the streets and do whatever it is they want. And so by the time we came along, those people were doing a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs. Cocaine, right? Heroin, marijuana, which ultimately spilled over into crack. So what you have is you have a ton of millennials who've been raised on Similac and familiar with iron instead of being breastfed. So right there, we start out with bad diets, poor diets. Most of our education was poor. So of course you're going to have poor outcomes because the start was poor. And then you look when you have the millennials, you have the beginning of Reaganomics. And then not only Reaganomics, you have the outsourcing of jobs. No jobs. Redlining. We started out poor. So I don't understand how you get the Gen Xers who are saying, well, or the baby boomers, well, you look at the millennials and look at what they're doing. We started out from a piss poor situation.
Let me put it to you this way, right? Since 1960, 80 to 90% of black people were poor, below poverty line poor. You're fucking see, a lot of people never read history, and BGS is right.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're forced to actually take historical studies, the average motherfucking black person did not have a good diet. We're gonna look at something, right? My parents are boomers. My parents will work. My father works for himself, and he actually doesn't have a high school diploma. He has a GED. You take the GED and see how many fucking millennials will pass it. You got millennials.
It took me a couple times. I can answer that. It took me a couple times.
He came within 2 points of scoring of acing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but that's
the problem. That is one of the hardest. Besides the ASVAB, that is one of the hardest fucking tests ever. And then when you look at it, when you actually fighting for rights to be a human being, and the millennial culture, they're fighting for rights to do a sexual act, to get married. Okay? Our diet always been poor. Look at soul food, shit.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually take these arguments and say, look, yes, I'm a millennial, but I can't understand. I wouldn't even be able to fathom that I can't take a piss in a toilet because I'm black.
Okay, can I interject?
Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna end it off with this.
Just let me know when.
Okay. And I'm not saying that every millennial is a fuck up. It's like, look, a lot of fucking boomers didn't have much to go on their goddamn selves, probably even less. And even when we look at the educational system is a lot easier now. It really is. So when we look at the jobs and you're being sold college, when you should have had a trade that can pay for that college or military service to pay for that college, you forget that we're the ones who were affected by third wave feminism. When all these kindler, gentler, don't spoil the rod, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah,
and all this bullshit, all this participation shit, all this, what about me? And then you notice also, because of this feminist ideology, You were being tamped down in the early 80s when myself, AB, and whoever else is millennial. I was born 82. When we
I'm
started,
81.
so by the time we started,
83. Go ahead.
so by the time I'm not necessarily Z, but definitely us three. By the time we went to school, they actually looked and said, "Well, the girls' reading scores were in reading scores, and their science and math were down." And instead of making sure that both the boys and girls are going on a similar path, they tamped you down and brought her up. We were the first motherfuckers to get this feminism shit hardcore. But you go ahead.
Okay. Back to the diet, just real quick. And I'm not going to beat this dead horse. In the 60s, yeah, they had bad diets, but they had fruits and vegetables. And as an option, in Chicago, where I'm from, they can always plant in the backyard. That's what they did. They planted their food in the backyard. In terms of us, we were the first Similac babies. We were the first ones to get the steroids. So there was a huge difference, right? When the mothers couldn't breastfeed, they used pet milk. But when they didn't, they actually opted not to breastfeed our generation. This is the first generation of this. Instead, to give our people steroids. And then you wonder why they can't pass a simple test. These were the first generation crack babies. And it kills me because the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, they like to try to just gloss over crack as if it was just like two people that was doing it. No, an entire country of zombies, an entire group of crack babies came out of the late 80s, early 90s. And they try to gloss over this. Look, I'm not making excuses about what our people do, but let's be honest with what's happening here. At the same time, they took the jobs away. Now, the Gen Xers, the baby boomers, they had access to trades in high school. They learned the trades in high school. They had rec centers that taught the trades. Okay? It was everywhere, rampant all over the country. And then from there, you can go to companies like Goodyear in California, or other or you can go right to Ford or something like that, right out of high school, and get yourself a good job. When these things came along, when our generations came along, they cut those things. So all of those programs were gone.
So,
and it was
hold
generation.
Hold on. I'm gonna say this. Do you know what year Similac came out? 1951. 1951.
Right.
So we were not the first generation
that it was pushed on.
We were not the first generation. Once again, we were not the first generation on Similac. The boomers were.
I want us to make a distinction. I want to make a real quick distinction. I'm sorry, Charles. I got to say this because I don't want I don't want us to mistake black millennials for millennials writ large. I make very important distinctions. So I agree with where the man is going writ large in America, but black boomers, they were, some of them were able to access some of the jobs and some of these opportunities that you're speaking of. Yes. But remember, they're still black in America. So I want us to be very careful in this conversation with a dominant American narrative and then a very black narrative for millennials and boomers.
Well, you got to look at it, man. When we looking at the millennial culture, right? A lot of it was because they had trades when we went to school. A lot of it was this. A lot of kids didn't want to learn auto mechanics and
not true
electrical engineering. They did not.
Not true.
They did not. I went to high school during this goddamn time like everybody else, right? They were complaining about it. It's too hard. Why we got to do this? And the same people who complained when they were getting taught this shit now wants to look for a job because they were given a job and they were given an opportunity. And then you ever remember you're in a gynocratic culture. And yes, it is. Because they started cutting that shit out around what? Late 90s, early 2000s, around 2003-ish. What did they want to do? They wanted to force you into college prep. And the only thing college guarantees you is debt. It doesn't guarantee you a degree. So think about it. If we're gonna bank off of a culture, right? I'm not gonna let you get money where you could pay it off like that as a mechanic or an engineer. I'm gonna get you to at least get some college loans. You know, make you, oh, you don't got to pay this back for 10 years after you graduate college. And then nobody tells you it accrues interest.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when a lot of shit that came up, this thing called in the 60s civil rights, this new thing, like, wait a minute. We forget about third wave feminism, how Black men were supposed to get these jobs and training. Guess who got them?
Just do me a favor. Let me know when you're done, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I don't interrupt.
All right. Guess who got them? It wasn't us.
Mm-hmm.
Those Black feminists and the white feminists tag team and gave us the fucking Heart Foundation's heart attack and took all that shit away from Black men. All that job training, all them frontier jobs. White women took the bulk of that shit. And this is the shit the boomers fought for. Just like you go and you have in police departments the Emerald Society because the Irish made sure their family and their sons got police jobs to take care of families. And then culturally, are we taught to look out for the next person? Overall, no. Look out for the next Black? No. So when you look at a lot of this stuff when it comes to education, you don't see too many parents going up to the Board of Education saying, what the fuck are you teaching us? You literally had people who had to go to fucking schools, and some of them had to have armed fucking National Guardsmen. When you started seeing when we went to high school, the dropout rate was ridiculous. But go ahead.
All right, so a couple of points. High school, we're talking about the trade. Personally, I took 3 years of wood shop, high school. Learned how to build houses. We built a lot of things, but I had to go to a white high school in order to do it because they took it out of the Black high schools. Okay, they had in my neighborhood high school, they had auto mechanic. Right, they took all of those programs out of the high school, so I had to go to a white high school just to get wood shop. Right, that's one. Two, the baby boomers. Let's talk about their actions for a second. They went through all of that, the integration of schools, so forth and so on. They did all of that stuff, but then if you look at where they dropped the ball at, they killed Medgar Evers, Kennedy, King, Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King. And guess what them Negroes did? They went to the club and started partying. The white man gave them some jobs, and they started going to ball games and to the clubs and started snorting the first white thing that they could. They dropped the ball, not us. They gave up on us because the job wasn't finished.
Let me know what I could speak.
Just real quick.
No, I want to address something. Before you take the head off, let me address something real quick because I got to
hold on. Let him finish.
Let him finish.
Let him
Okay.
finish.
Let me finish that bullshit. Go ahead.
They had bullshit. They
It
did.
is bullshit.
So in the 1970s, y'all didn't hit the clubs.
Please don't do it. Don't start yet. Please don't start yet. Go
Okay.
ahead. Finish the math.
Hold on. Let him finish. Let him finish.
Just
You
one
ever
last
hear of
thing.
the
Just one
Harlem?
last thing.
Ever hear of the Harlem Renaissance, sir?
Just one last
In
thing.
the 30s and 40s.
I did. Just one more thing. So they had a job to do. They set out on a task. They set out to they had accomplished something socially, which was a great feat.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next point was economics.
Ever hear of the Kerner Commission, sir?
Yes, but with the Poor People's Campaign.
You ever hear of the Kerner Commission, sir?
Yes, but with the Poor
affirmative
People's
action
Campaign,
affirmative action was the economic piece, sir.
I'm going to say this,
but
real quick.
it didn't solve the problem.
Okay. I'm going to say this one because I remember just talking to my mother, who's 62, and my father, who's 64. My mother's the same age as BGS, and my father's 2 years older. Number one, when King and Malcolm were killed,
They were children.
black people, they were children. And you know what happened?
Right.
Just like 9/11, they said we had to take our asses home quick. Black people burned that motherfucker down.
They did.
Black people took no shit. So you got to understand something. Them younger boomers. Oh, trust me. Y'all lucky I'm not at my computer or my phone because I will show you pictures when motherfuckers went to when the Klan used to go to black fucking neighborhoods trying to do rallies and got their asses whipped. Now, we're going to go back to the financial piece, right? Because in the 70s, guess what started to happen? Black people were making more money than they ever did in the fucking history of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happened? The fucking United States during the Reagan administration went to fucking Colombia with the Contras, traded guns and weapons and technology for fucking cocaine and flooded the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Motherfuckers smoke weed just like now. You got a lot of functional drunks and alcoholics, and you would never know. So it's no different in the white community that happens. Oh, but during our time of having an epidemic, it's a crime. But when white people is going through it now, it's called a sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Then here's another thing, right? You had something out of the blue, like narcotics units. Then in the 90s, all of a sudden, instead of giving niggas a job, they gave you 3 strikes and you're out in a crime bill. They gave you zero tolerance, right? Stuff that we didn't put in there, did we? No. But go ahead. Go ahead. Whoever wants it next.
No, Chris. I really want to do this. So Mr. Z isn't attacking boomers. I'm not doing the whole. Well, y'all the one did this and no. I'm just here to defend millennials. I'm not here to attack boomers because I do think black boomers specifically have a particular plight that I can't attack them for. Especially when you think, even when you see that black millennials did go to college and we weren't so much fans of the trade. And I agree with Charles to a certain extent. But it's because it's also because
let me ask you this, Mr. Z. You know how before 1968, you know how many black men actually graduated high school?
It probably was less than 25%.
It was less than 20%. 23%, right?
Ooh,
how many black males actually graduate high school now, even though it's mostly bullshit?
Probably more than 75.
Like 80%, all right? With GEDs, like 90%, right?
Some of them can't even read. Like you said, it's bullshit. Some of them can't even read.
It's bullshit, but yeah, but I'm saying, but the thing is, they have a high school diploma, right? Which was, you know how many, a black male that went to college, right? Just went to college, would look like a unicorn back when I was a kid, right? He was a unicorn. Back in the 80s, a kid that actually got a bachelor's degree was a unicorn. Now the shit's so common, it's ridiculous. What do you do with it? Anyway, continue, Mr. Z.
No, and I think that's
what's out here? Niggas don't read, man. It kind of pisses me off. They don't read.
this is a conversation me and you always have, BGS. We understand this. We're in agreement. Both of us are in agreement with this, and I think that crosses generations. But
I'm going by with you. Niggas wasn't even there in the 70s. Okay, wasn't even
Speaking
born.
of which,
they're saying what happened after Martin Luther King. You know, there's 100 riots after Martin Luther King died. They burned down 100 cities. But niggas went to the club and got high.
Well, let me learn real quick. Because
I mean, can I?
No, let me land
Right.
Because I was making a point. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, niggas, stay shooting down the plane. Let the plane land. But no. So
you're in Kandahar, brother.
I'm over there rocking the no-fly zone, but
in the fly zone. Yeah.
But so it's very important that I think boomers did raise us to go to college, and I think that's because boomers were told, hey, you want your kids not to struggle, tell them to go to college. And so boomers raised the black millennials to do that, and black millennials did that, and then we came out and like one of the shittiest economies ever, from the dot-com bubble to the housing recession to now the COVID recession. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not gonna attack black boomers, but I will say that black millennials were handed a particular plight that I think is not discussed enough. It's just like, no, it's just another struggle. Like, yeah, no. It ain't as easy as you think it is. That's my argument, and I'll pause right there.
And I'm gonna say this because a lot of times people think millennials never had their strife. Of course, you have your strife. Every generation does.
Yeah.
The difference is, get over it. You drive on.
Yeah.
And what happens is that people want something like, I think we were the TGIF generation because we looked at a lot of these shows and said, why don't we live this life?
Shout out to Boy Meets World.
Nobody lived that life.
And nobody lived that life. Till one day I asked my father,
Topanga.
We live, well, I don't even know. Yeah, the only white girl, I love them titties. I love them titties though. But it's the one thing, till my father had to say, nigga, we black. Okay. Let me put it to you this way. The work ethic, when you go pound for pound from millennial to boomer, is different. Yes. Are you going to have some variations? Yes. I'm not going to see a lot of motherfuckers working 60 hours a week in the millennial generations. No. You're not going to see that because the boomers are going to do it. Just like now. Like I even told you when I had COVID, number one, if I'd have dealt with a woman in my bracket, I'd have died. My mother cleaned up a 4-bedroom house, kitchen, basement, everything by her goddamn self. Not one complaint. You can't even program your women to be wives. You can't even program the men to be husbands right now. And we wondering why we're more educated, but we can't have longer marriages and families. If you go by the process of elimination, somebody got it right and somebody got it wrong. And to say that all they did was smoke gas, my mother will tell you, she passed a 90% of her fucking high school finals high as a kite on weed. Guess what the difference is now? Motherfuckers will smoke weed in the school, can't pass a damn class. Difference in work ethic.
And apparently can't run either.
Can't run. And I mean, right. I feel, hold on, but I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna just say this, and I'm gonna give it to you. Look, I understand a lot of the millennial shit. Nobody was gonna give you shit. Nobody's gonna give you. All of my teachers in high school told me. He said, congratulations to everybody who's gonna graduate. But if there's one thing I told you these 4 years, not a damn person in this world owes you shit. But go ahead.
All right. So I want to give a little pushback to BGS, because see, BGS acts as if the clubs and the crack didn't happen. Yes, there was riots. There was pushback against what happened to the civil rights leaders. It was. But the crack and the clubs took precedent over the children. This was the start of it. Instead of regrouping, coming back together, they had the Poor People's Campaign. They settled with affirmative action, right? But there was still redlining all over the country, and there's still a version of redlining going on today. Had zero loans for Black men to start businesses. There was no real fight about that. So there's zero loans basically still today. The habits and the work ethic that we got, that we learned from you guys.
So we learned to most of the boomers learned to accept white racism from their parents. Did we do it?
No.
Okay. So at some point, at some point, no matter what your parents taught you, if the shit's not working, what do? You change it, right? So how long?
Yeah.
How old are you guys going to get before you start changing shit? 60?
No, but here's what happens.
There's always a but.
Yeah, because you're talking to a bunch of kids who are strung out on the steroids from the strung out on the steroids from the Similac, strung out on the steroids from the Similac, and they're
Similac started in 1951.
Yeah.
There was no steroid.
I was on Similac. I'm a boomer.
There was no steroid.
The majority of Blacks have it. Not like
so was my brother and my sister and stuff like that. They were actually on Similac.
But the majority of Blacks wasn't.
Yes, they were.
Because my grandmother breastfed.
It doesn't matter. You weren't there, sir.
No, but
you weren't. When were you born, man?
You weren't there shooting in the gym.
1980.
Huh?
81.
Oh, in other words, so were you? So I was born in 59. Were you there?
No.
When my brothers and sisters were born from 1960 to 1967, 69, were you there?
No.
How do you know what they're fed?
Because I talked to my grandmother.
I was there.
20 years. For 20 years, talked to my grandmother.
I was there.
Verify the facts with my family members.
I was there.
Okay. Wasn't everywhere.
In fact, they just got back into, in the 80s. They got back into breastfeeding. Okay. Before that, it was the modern thing was to give up the breastfeeding, and because the new formulas that are coming out were superior.
Yeah. Okay. So you breastfeed the babies from crack titties. Is that it?
What percentage of the black community was on crack, sir? Do you know?
Don't know, but I can look it up.
Look it up. Start looking it up, man, because you don't know. I was
probably less than 10%.
It was less than 10%.
Jesus Christ. See, you got to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
From 1890 to 1980, the lowest black couples. Hold on. From 1890 to 1980, black people were married at the lowest 80% and at the highest 90%. So you got to look into the factoids of one. We look into the Reaganomics. Yeah, we look into that. We look into the Contras and the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Was the drugs any doing of black men and black women?
No.
When you outsource jobs, and
which they started doing in the 70s, in the mid 70s,
and you got a lot of these people who worked at these factories and had pensions, and then poof goes the magic dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's what happened to Gary, Indiana.
Yep. Oh yeah, the steel towns.
Bethel Steel, which is up there on
Steel.
Which is up in Baltimore.
Detroit went bust. Went bust in the late 70s, early 80s. What is it? All the little steel towns in Michigan, like Flint. And all those in Cleveland, and Cleveland was a fucking wreck, man, in the 80s. was a
Yeah,
wreck, was a shithole in
and
a wreck.
think about
Well, Washington D.C. was a shithole in the
yeah,
80s, right?
they
New
had it on
York City was a
PBS.
shithole. New York City was a shithole in the 80s, right?
And you know
Shithole,
what's funny,
70s and 80s.
BGS? You know what's funny, BGS? The one
Uh-huh.
motherfucker they clown, who black people really know who did shit. The one motherfucker they clown. If y'all never had Marion Barry in that goddamn city, y'all wouldn't have had shit.
You wouldn't have shit, yeah.
Because if y'all go to PBS and look at them documentaries, y'all didn't have shit in DC to Marion Barry.
You know what the biggest actually the biggest boom outside of maybe the 60s, the 50s was in America as far as wealth boom. You know what the biggest boom was?
Probably 80s, 90s.
Nope. No, 1994 to 2008. That's the biggest boom, biggest 14-year boom. The dot-com boom was the biggest boom of wealth and money ever seen in the United States. And guess who lived through that? We're playing PlayStation and Nintendo and all the other kind of bullshit and gadgets that y'all had.
BGS, who did they get him from?
It doesn't matter.
They got it from their parents.
Who had it?
They got it from the parents.
Who had it?
But you guys like you were
raised.
PlayStation.
You guys act like you were raised on a fucking on a fucking sharecropper farm, starving to death.
We got it from the boomers.
Were you guys raised on a sharecropping farm, starving to death?
Look, no.
But I'm
going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. Being a boomer, I could have did without the Sega Genesis. I didn't want a Sega Genesis. My baby boomer mother bought a Sega Genesis.
Did you play it though? Hold up, did you play it though?
Not really. That was a thing for my little brother.
Bullshit.
That was a thing for my little brother. That was a thing for my little brother.
How about your friends? Did they play it?
No.
They didn't play it.
We didn't sit around playing video games.
I know that's cat.
Bullshit.
Dude, come on.
Bullshit. Get the fuck out of here.
No, because I played sports.
Yes, he's capping.
I played sports.
So did I. So did I.
So did my kids.
So
we play video games too.
How old are you? The man, how old are you, man? How old are you? 40. My son's 35, man. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah, my little brothers and them, they played it, and they're your son's age.
They're millennials.
Oh boy.
You played them, man. Stop. Get out of here, man, with that shit.
Okay, and their parents, right? Baby boomer daddy, alcoholic. See, you can. So what I'm saying. So here's what I'm saying.
So they started
at the car wash.
They start producing alcohol in what year was that, sir?
Not the point.
It is the point.
The point is that. The point is that
long before the boomers. You can't just put that on them. No.
The things that I learned come from the previous generations. Those are the things that I learned, and we got them from the baby boomers.
So boomers didn't have alcoholic parents.
And go figure.
Did they have alcohol? Did their parents did they have some alcoholic parents?
Yes.
Yeah. So in other words, remember something called Prohibition?
Yep. Oh, it really got bad then.
When was that? When was that, sir? It was Prohibition.
Well, we know when Prohibition was.
No. I wanted to know. Do you know when Prohibition? I know when it was. Do you know what it was?
Yes, I do know what Prohibition was.
When was it then, sir?
Really? So we're gonna do this?
Yes, we are.
So we know when.
Yes, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Yeah. We calling facts. Yeah, something that you should know already. Roll it right off your tongue.
Really?
Yes.
You can't say Buster BGS. He already know the answer.
Wait.
Just say you don't know, man.
Wait, as if we don't.
Just say you don't know.
As if we don't know. As if we don't know.
Just say you don't know.
As if we don't know what the when the
Just say you don't know.
As if we don't know what the world.
Just say you don't know.
Okay.
So
please
wait a minute.
Don't insult my intelligence by saying.
Yeah, you insulted it. I didn't.
So wait a minute.
By asking questions.
So wait a minute. So wait a minute. So, okay. You notice when I actually looked up the Similac shit, I had to Google it to check to be like, nah, Similac been out longer than that because my mother was on it, father was on it. And
I was on
did
it.
you know? And did you
I was
know the reason?
I was actually allergic to it, which is why
Did
they had
you
to take me off of it.
did you know why a lot of women stopped breastfeeding back then? Because of malnutrition in the black community.
True.
And I don't get it. Maybe people need to take history class for their first 2 years of college, then go
I
to their
said it.
major. Because when you actually have to be a historian, the first thing
Hold on,
hold on.
Pookie.
The first thing you have to do when you go to some type of historical studies, you got to accept the truth, no matter how ugly or how unfavored it is to your beliefs. When we're looking at alcoholic shit, alcohol been around since 7000 BC. I'm pretty sure there were some fucking alcoholic Egyptians.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Them motherfuckers had to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, who was a Korean War vet, my father said he was an alcoholic. He used to beat the hell out of everybody in the house all the time. That's one of the reasons why my father knew karate. He tried one night. Grandfather was like, God damn, he kicked like a mule. All right, I'm going to stop fighting. Instead of coming up there fighting, he just seen me when I got in the stands. He just took his ass to sleep on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Guess what my grandfather did? He was a body. He was a body and fender man. Meaning, my father said he was so good that if your car was in a wreck, it would look better than when you had it before the wreck. You know, that's a job that's what, COVID proof? But what happened? How many millennials are rushing to get those jobs?
Yeah.
You got motherfuckers who are computer programmers on this goddamn live right now. How many millennials are coming up to them, younger millennials and Zs coming up to them to say, hey, teach me how to do this shit? You know, them COVID-proof jobs. How many motherfuckers are coming up there saying, damn, Falk, I like your Gray Faulkner initiative. I'm looking to go to the military or the police or fire department and then take them benefits and then go to college or buy a house or both. See, the problem was a lot of motherfuckers want those minimal wage jobs where it's easy and unfortunately like to do drugs and smoke weed and drink all the damn time.
Mm-hmm.
And think you're supposed to raise a family for working 20 years at McDonald's. That's not fucking realistic. And to say that, and you got to look at it, man. Because what city are you from, the man?
I'm from Chicago.
Oh shit.
Chicago. So you should, like me being a Baltimorean, you should know. You should know. When you were born 81, an extra year before I was born, when all these motherfuckers were working. I remember my granddaddy working at Inner Harbor Ford as a mechanic, as a master mechanic with an 8th grade education. You should know. Guess where Inner Harbor Ford is now? Anybody want to take a guess?
Mexico.
China.
Somewhere of them motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling us that you're telling us where black men, and they've said this in a study with the CDC, you give a black man a job, that motherfucker will work. But what happened was, because they didn't want their children to have it as hard as they did, because, you know, when you're basically fighting the forces of evil, aka racism, you don't want your children to go through that. So you cut them slack that a lot of shit nowadays that I see children do that even when we were little kids would have gotten the shit kicked out of you. Like I'm picking up my son to go to a dentist appointment, and this kid was like, it's hot as shit. I said, excuse me. You're not even old enough to know what shit is. Oh, I'm sorry, mister. No, you're not. You're just sorry because you got caught. Now, instead of being sorry, why don't you become apologetic? But go ahead. Somebody else hit this up.
It's good, that's it.
Hey,
I'm just listening. I don't have
Okay.
to say a damn word.
Okay.
Go ahead, Albert.
Well, let me address something you said, BGS, earlier. You said name a politician in my age bracket that you would vote for president. I
Yeah.
thought about that for 2 seconds. I can't name one on either side. I'll just take the L on that one. I can't do it. I don't want to see AOC in that seat. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Pete butt plug in that seat. No, those are only two I can think of.
I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. By the way, sorry for cutting you off, AL. I'm gonna give it back to you. I just saw a comment that nobody wanted to be taught.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's bullshit right there. But
Let me put it to you this way. I've seen so many people who were trying to teach. I was teaching young black men how to change a goddamn tire because they never done it.
Mm-hmm.
This is boring. I don't want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Half of you motherfuckers, half of the people in my fucking generational gap don't even got licenses.
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh man.
And I can tell you something else. Because like back when I started doing 3D in the mid 90s, when the colleges was not carrying it, we had to learn all that shit on our own. So most of the shit that these cats are doing and taking easy, it was men like me who were young and in our 20s who was building that shit. It was us. I mean, we were the ones who were applying, mathematics to all of this animation. And it was brothers like Terrence Walker, myself, a host of other brothers who were out there on the edge, but we were too geeky to have any visibility.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you something, BGS. Everybody on the panel, guess what my wrestling coach was?
He was Silent Generation?
He was. Yep. He was. He'd probably be about 70 if he still lived.
Oh no, he's a boomer.
That's a boomer.
He's a boomer. But guess what he did? He was a printing and technology teacher.
Yeah.
With a
So that he one of the older boomers too. He one of the older ones.
And you gotta understand something. And this is just from how many kids wanted to stay around. And this is when the computers, when the internet became the internet. When I went to high school, and he was teaching the classes, you would think that class be flooded like a motherfucker. He taught you how to do printing. He taught you how to do the postering and also the laminations and all that, and also how to do graphic designing. How many motherfuckers you think wanted to take that class?
Tell me about it.
And how many motherfuckers now, when we're approaching 40 next year, are kicking themselves in the ass where they could have made some money? Okay? And see, this is the problem. The millennial generation want to start a fucking career at 35, 40. How do I know it? I've seen some of my friends. When I first joined the police department at 25, I was like, yo, they hiring, motherfuckers. Come on, let's go. My boy Ali told me this shit. He said, dude, he was happy and comfortable at Home Depot. You know what he said out of his word? If he was here, you know what if he was here, he would tell you. He said, when I had to leave, he said I had to go when I trained 3 out of my 4 last supervisors.
Oh,
they came in the same level I was, and they became my supervisor.
Damn.
And he works for the city now as well. He works for transportation. He works for transportation enforcement now with the city.
Damn, damn.
True. Let him finish.
And he works for transportation authority with the city like I do.
3 supervisors.
Where he's the city. And that's real. Remember when I told you truth when we talked?
Yeah, bro.
See, a lot of shit that people don't understand.
I didn't even realize that. Do you know the time frame of that? What was the time frame of that? How long was he there?
From the 2000s.
Like over the course, did he ever tell you what was the time frame? Was it like 5 years or
No,
like
3-4 years?
Damn.
So you're telling me,
go ahead.
and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna give it the dead set. You got to think about it, right? You're right, Jay Sean. There's thousands of motherfuckers. Two of my fucking cousins asked me to be their reference for the military. Do you know Do you know the investigators checked my military records?
Mm.
And said, "You're a verified source. Thank you for your service in Iraq. Oh, you got the Global War on Terrorism medal twice. Yes, I have. Oh, you used to be part of this team here. Yes, I was. Why do you think? Because they're a great asset, sir." He was like, "Shit, I don't even need to talk to you. We just talk for an hour about our old military experiences." So, guess what? In 2-3 years they've been in the military, they're already sergeants.
Damn, they moving up. That's cool.
So, and this is what something they did earlier in their life. One thing my parents told me: start your career early, retire early, do whatever you want for during that time, school, whatever, get a house, get another career, and retire from that. My aunt, who's older than my father by a year or two, literally has 3 pensions. She was an Army medic. She was a deputy sheriff of Baltimore County, and she just retired from Harford County, so she has 3 pensions. Show me the millennial who's going to accomplish that one, because I'm a damn sure try to be one of them. But go ahead.
Disease. Oh. Is there any pensions even left?
Yes, there are pensions left.
Because I know they're downsizing that shit. You know they're trying to get rid of them as fast as fucking possible.
Why do you think I tell you to stay to get the fuck off the weed?
My black ass is about to go to the fucking
and they get rid of the pensions. What are you guys doing about it? You guys sitting back and taking this shit. What are you guys doing about it?
You guys, these niggas, look. I tried my best. These niggas are dumb
as a group. Y'all say, well, they're taking this. I said, don't you guys have any kind of gumption to fight back, strike, do something?
No, these niggas, they're scared. They're not scared, they're stupid.
There's one thing I can say about disease, man, was I actually raised a big fist, man. They had bad jobs. Guess what they did? They went on strike. I said, God, they actually did something. I was actually stunned.
We'll see how long that lasts, though, BGS. We're young.
Well, we'll see. Shit. The thing is, they actually stood up and did something. I was actually shocked. That's the shit we used to do with the sit-ins and the protest and all that kind of stuff, man. That's what the boomers used to do.
And at the same time,
y'all sit there and take it.
Y'all niggas had way more heart, though. Y'all was getting beat.
They were saying, I wonder how long that's going to last. They were saying the same thing about it.
Y'all was getting fucked up. Yeah, how long was it going to last? But y'all was getting beat, fucked up. That shit was, y'all was just so fucking, that shit's inspiring. Like, god damn. Just even through all the mud and the thick of it, like, I don't know, like, can a weaker generation coming from weaker people replicate that? We can try on some degree.
That's why I laugh at all the rioters that stormed the Capitol. Right? They thought they had so much gumption, and now when it's time to go to jail, they're crying like little bitches.
Man, shut the fuck up. Most of them white assholes.
No, white boys back in the day would do their time, man. They fight a man, but they don't do this shit no more.
Them niggas is soft. Yeah, they're soft.
Doing anything wrong.
these racist people. These motherfuckers are half mass, half measured nowadays. Like they're soft.
These racists nowadays are some weak soft.
You know, I like to call it racist light or zero calorie racism.
Robert
racism.
Robert E. Lee or one of the original Confederate niggas will look at these niggas with shame. Like he probably rolled around in his grave looking at these motherfuckers. Like that's the best you got, motherfucker. Is put on a goddamn fur hat and run up to the Capitol. That's the best y'all got, motherfucker.
No,
that's all your fat asses is gonna do.
That Karen and that Victoria's Secret.
Oh yeah, that was some bullshit. Yeah, come on now.
I was rolling.
That was sad. Now that was sad. I'm gonna
put it to you this way, but we do got to get it to. Can I address your question? What's your question, TL? And why don't you type it again, and I'll address it. And we're gonna go back to Dead Set because we did cut him off. Go ahead, Dead Set.
Oh, I lost my train of thought because Pookie he makes me laugh.
Pookie.
My bad, my bad.
There's a little Pookie in all of us.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I did want to touch on, however, it's like,
Yep.
you know, my dad he was a janitor before he got into, went back and started doing HVAC. But he was a janitor at Lake Taylor High School in Norfolk, Virginia, where I was born. So when people are talking about, you know, when we're talking about how easy y'all had it, he was there doing integration. I mean, just right after integration. And the way those brothers used to go out there and have to fight every single day for like over a decade, because we had to fight to go to school. Even in the 80s, we had to still deal with teachers calling us niggers and all kinds of shit. And they did that shit out front, open, didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And we still had to fight. We fought for every little bit of respect and education that we got. And so when somebody is sitting there talking about some y'all weak, y'all didn't do this, y'all didn't do that, I'm just like, nigga, you weren't even there. Shut up.
Like a lot of
Because
people know.
nobody's calling y'all that shit. Nobody, somebody call y'all a nigga in classroom, guess what? They're gonna get fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that it wasn't that way when we were coming up. So when y'all go back and look at shit like Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show and all that other shit, it may not have been real, but it represented a vision that we had, and it was ours, and we could say we owned it, and we did own it.
The teacher do. The students can still say it. They won't get kicked out, but the teacher do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the teacher, principal, it didn't matter. Yeah,
That's the difference now. If you would have got my classes when I went to private school, the last motherfuckers. You try to fight a teacher, that teacher got with your ass.
Mm-hmm.
That teacher got with you. And yeah, they had paddles. Old Catholic ass school shit. You go ahead and tell your shit. You go ahead and say, Mom, Dad, they whooped my ass in school. And then they gotta whoop your ass because they know it was you. They ain't gonna whoop your ass just for no fucking reason. No. See, the craziest part about it is one, you took away, and I've seen this from 20 years of coaching, about 22, 21 now. When you make shit easy for somebody and you give everybody on the team a trophy, nobody wants to try hard. I've asked my wrestlers, should you get a trophy every time you win a match? He's like, yeah. Then what would the championship trophy feel like then? Would it feel special? Be like, no. Exactly. Well, how do you think I still have my goddamn championship trophies to this day? Because I earned that shit. And the words of Ric Flair, when you're champion, when you win the championship, they got to call you champion forever.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that corporal punishment or some sort of, you know, it's going to relate to the children doing better? Because there's black football teams, there's black sports there's black sports that's actually winning championships.
Let me put it to you this way. Let me put it to you this way.
There's a better psychological thinking.
Hold on.
Thinking.
Hold on. I'm going to answer your question. What do you do for a living, the man?
I'm a wealth manager.
Wealth manager, right?
Yeah. So this is the reason why I'm up late. Because
So have you ever had to confront motherfuckers 3:00 in the morning, you know, trying to replicate their favorite Royal Rumble?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever had to go to a person's house 3:00 in the morning and they're trying to replicate their favorite version of the Royal Rumble?
Actually, I did. When I owned my first house, there were some guys that was down the street. They actually had a wrestling ring. I thought it was pretty amazing, and they were actually trying to replicate it
at 3 in the morning, nigga.
At 3 in the morning.
So did you have to go?
They had barbed wire and everything out there.
Did you have to physically make them stop?
No, actually, I started watching. I thought it was amazing.
So when I get the call, and these people are, and the reason why I use Royal Rumble because I'm making light that the whole family house is fighting.
This is not a work.
And this ain't a work. It's a shoot. It's definitely a shoot. And here's the crazy part. To say you do not need force to guide a situation will be disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
Does every time you need to mediate with a child needs to be forceful? No. Because there's sometimes a child is doing things out of pure ignorance and discovery and exploration. But there's also times when an ass needs to be kicked. Because one, pain receptors to the gluteus maximus is somehow directly connected to the cerebral cortex. And people say, and you have children, right?
Oh, I do.
And you never had to pop your children once.
Oh no, I have.
Why? Because words weren't
because it's just a form of correction.
And words were not getting to them at the time. And or something needed to be done quickly for them to get it quickly, right?
That's true.
Thank you. Your Honor.
My granddaddy used to call that smart pills.
There's always a
but here's what I'm saying. There are times when you don't need corporal punishment.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I got to put this up for you.
Say what? Yeah, for the past 6 decades, look how they turned up. Some motherfuckers always trying to
and there are times that you don't need, and there are times that you don't need corporal punishment.
And do you know the reason?
And that it is being misapplied, and that corporal punishment does get misapplied.
One time. Somebody got echo.
That's AL.
Yeah.
Do you know? I want you to know the reason why I said it. Hey, Robert, come here for a minute. Now, how old are you, Robert? 18. Say it loud enough for me to hear you in the mic.
18.
Okay. When you were in school, who would they normally call?
You.
How would we correct that situation?
I do push-ups, get extra work in class.
And if that didn't work, what would happen?
Foot in my ass.
Huh?
Foot in my ass.
Thank you. So there's a limit to when shit needs to be done. Because yes, when my parents paid tuition for my ass to go to the school, if you got below an 80, that was considered failing, and 70 was passing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a 79.9, my father and my father would put me up on his shoulders, and my mother would come down with the bulldog like the Steiner brothers. Okay? Education, especially the boomers, was highly important. Am I lying, boomers?
That's true.
Yeah.
Like
Heard the same thing from my motherfucking mama, man. She said she couldn't get below a C.
It's still important to some millennials too.
And that's the only class she could even get a C in was math. Everything else had to be a B, or was that ass.
And see, this is the problem. You having a lot of college graduates. You having a lot of college graduates, but notice you don't have a lot of working college graduates as you used to. There's called, you basically inflated the market. When you inflate the goddamn market with degrees, and what happened? Every chick I've dated, 90% of them got degrees. Guess how many of them actually work in the field? 20% of them.
Yep.
They went from the 90s when they did. Think about it. Black man, you got the fucking crime bill. Black women got fucking welfare reform.
Mm-hmm. They did.
And you got all these useless ass degrees in basket weaving and grasshopper reproduction. and they flashing this shit.
What years did that happen in?
That started in the late 60s, early 70s.
What's that?
Like when that was when Title
Third
IV
wave
started
feminism.
came out, and then
The Title IV, yeah. That was
No, was
that
that
was
second wave?
That was considered second wave.
Second
Basically, it was actually Title IV is actually actually what I actually looked at the book 69 to I think it was started. I think 69 was started Title IV under Social Security. I think Social Security, yeah.
And we got a
Title
lot
IV.
of bullshit that came out.
It's under the Social Security Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're the ones who's supposed to be responsible for fixing it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're taking the brunt of it.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
you got to remember.
Because guess whose watch is it on? It's on yours. Yes.
Exactly.
You got
Just
to
like
remember.
when it was on our watch to fix racism, right? And fight for civil rights, all right? They passed it us. It's on our watch. Yes.
I keep on. Something's off about this whole thing because it seems to me that the younger generation keeps forgetting that they're standing on the shoulders of those who came before you, whether you like it or not. Shit got done.
But the older generation helped them.
The older generation.
The older generation helped them. So, for example, A. Philip Randolph. A. Philip Randolph was one of the civil rights leaders.
Okay.
But he started all the way back in the 40s, the 30s, pushing for civil rights. Where are our leaders that's supposed to be helping us?
They're still with you.
They're still with you.
They're still
Where?
with you.
To ask for help.
Who do you think trying to get your reparations bills through? Right, those are your boomers that came from the civil rights generation.
We
still
already
trying to do this
discussed
shit.
this. Reparations not going to work.
They're still. It doesn't matter whether it works or not. They're still trying.
Let me ask you.
Let me guys
ask you
are
this.
in your 30s. Basically, the biggest push of reparations in the last 20 years is by who? By millennials and Zs called ADOS, right?
Yeah. So wait a minute. We got to forget about we got to hold on. We
I'm the guy.
I'm crying.
See, because I'm the one. I'm the guy where ADOS come from. That's me.
Nigga, what?
I'm the one.
Nigga, no, you aren't.
Oh, wait a minute. Where are you from?
Are you serious?
Yeah, we're from.
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm dead ass serious. You're not. What the fuck you're not?
I came up with ADOS in early
Prove it.
2000s.
Nigga, what?
Prove it.
Yes.
Oh my god, bro.
And I
really,
also
this is not the day for this bullshit.
and
bro. Jesus.
I also have our first a constitution.
I got
for
the Brooklyn Bridge for sale, bro.
For the descendants of slaves in America.
But wait a minute.
I'm gonna sell you the Brooklyn Bridge and the Bay Bridge, nigga.
Okay, let me tell you
both of them.
Let me tell you this. Okay, why do you need a constitution when you're trying to convince the country through their constitution to respect your rights?
Because black people have not constituted because black people have not had the opportunity to constitute how they want to live in this country since we've gotten here. That's
so
why
let me ask you something. Hold on, BGS. Don't do it, BGS.
Okay. All right.
Let me ask you something. Do you use American dollars, Russian rubles, Mexican pesos? What currency do you get paid in?
Well, we use US dollars.
Has any white person stopped making you use that dollar?
No.
Have they said, no, nigga, I ain't taking your $1,000?
Have they said that?
Have they not refused to take your money?
No. In fact, it's been quite the opposite.
As a matter of fact, let's get, and I'm glad you said that.
Because they actually been denying us access because they've been denying us access to capital.
What's your level of education?
I'm just shy of my MBA.
So you damn near got a master's in business administration, correct?
Correct.
And you got to talk about how black people have not been constituted in these United States.
We have not constituted how we want to live.
We can't because we don't run the country.
So in other words, why are we trying to build a country?
That's part of the problem.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Here's the real problem, man. You're trying to make up a constitution when you're trying to get them to get us under theirs, which we are, right?
Which we are by way of the 14th Amendment.
So whenever in history has the lowest caste ever rise to be equal to the ruling class?
Actually, the Jews in Nazi Germany, just prior to Nazi Germany.
They didn't. No,
they were not the lowest class.
Ruling class.
They
were the ruling class.
They were the ruling economic class, but by the numbers.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Do you know the reason why they were
the ruling economically or military?
Do you number one? Do you know the reason why they fucking dislike the Jews? Because the Jews did not circulate the money outside of their community when everybody else in Germany was starving and still reeling from World War I.
That's true.
So if they had all the goddamn money, that meant they were what?
They didn't have the numbers. The Jews were lower in number, but they ruled the money.
No, they didn't.
Let me ask you something. How much of the ruling class of America? How much of the ruling class of America is it the largest percentage or the smallest?
It's the largest percentage, not the smallest.
It's the smallest. A lot of white people are not rich.
No.
Okay. A lot of white people.
But they have the money.
They don't even have the money. You must not go through the Midwest.
Money is not power, sir. Okay.
Exactly.
And a lot of money that the Jewish bankers had was coming from overseas, from the British and the Americans. Okay.
How'd you get a degree?
Wait. Money is not power.
No.
It's not.
No.
Do you know what power is? Can you dictate reality to another person? Can you dictate reality? In other words,
natural resources. That's actually the power.
Did you see the movie Scarface?
Oh, now we're going to go to movies.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because you can learn a lot from Scarface.
We couldn't go to history because you said now we're going to go to history.
Because obviously you don't.
Who said now we're going to go to history?
You said that earlier.
Yeah, we're going to go to history. And you really don't want to go. You might not want to go toe to toe with me in history like that, because I'm going to check the sources, and a lot of them sources I already know. Now back to the Scarface reference. What the Scarface says, you get what first? You get the money first, then you get the power, then you get the respect. What is respect? And I'm gonna give you respect on a really street level layman's term. That I could walk through 20 motherfuckers, and each one of them motherfuckers hate my guts, but they respect me so much they wouldn't try shit. Am I pretty close to that, fellas?
Yep.
You may hate me, but you don't fuck with him because he bringing hell with him. But money alone, with no power and no respect, makes you a target, makes you a mark.
And what have they done to black men in this country? Denied us access to capital.
We had capital, but we didn't have the power of respect. Because if we had power and respect, we wouldn't talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and many other cities like Rosewood.
There was
a time where the black dollar. There was a time where the black dollar circulated in the black community more than any other group in the United States.
Can you say that again for the niggas in the back who didn't hear you?
There was a time in the United States where the dollar circulated in black America more than any other group, including the small hats.
Yeah.
Every time
it was a closed system. So you couldn't spend it anyplace else except inside your own group. But in 1968, they actually started giving you what? Access to capital, which is home loans, which is business loans, which is bank loans. Was it perfect? No. But things you had access to it. Before 1968, guess what you didn't have? Access to capital.
if he
That was part of the Kerner Commission in 1968 after the Martin Luther King riots.
As a matter of fact, let's go.
if he
Go
would
ahead,
have
Art.
read if he would have read the current commission like he said he did, he would know that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the
That's like
closest.
that's how you know you did not read the current commission at all.
As a matter of fact, the closest black people got to capital. Guess what it was? Military service. 1947, Eisenhower.
And the thing is, in most of your veteran rights, you had to fight for that, even though you earned them, you served and you earned them. You had to go through civil rights just for the veterans to get their what was due to them, which they just do, because they should have gotten homes, they should have got home loans, they should have got education loans. All the the veterans benefits were denied to them because they were black. It took civil rights to actually go in, and in the 60s to actually for them actually get access to them. All right.
As a matter of fact, people don't talk about the reparations black military soldiers got because of the monies that were denied from them 20, 30 years prior.
Yeah. They're still trying. In fact, there was just something where what is it? The farmers, this one senator and one farmers union member actually got $5 billion for farmers out of this COVID bill, right? So he's saying, where are the people that are still there, still old, still fighting for us? They're still fighting for you. They got the guy that was he's a boomer, right? For this that leads the farmers the farmers co-op, right? The farmers union, right? Black farmers union. They're still fighting for you. You say, where are they? They're all around. The thing is, you just don't know their names because you're not interested in knowing their names.
I know. Yeah. Okay. By the way, pay your BGS tax.
Yeah, all basically all the Buy Black, 1-800 Unite Us, all the Mata Network, all those are led by boomers. Okay, they're still fighting for you, and they're wondering where the younger generation will actually come in and help them.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What what's the black guy who made Powernomics?
Well, he's Claude Anderson. He's actually
Claude Anderson. Oh, yeah. Silent generation. Wait a minute. I thought the older generations don't come back to help.
They never left.
They never left. Exactly.
Well, the thing is that because we had this discussion. Peace, Charles. Peace of the panel. Peace of the chat.
What's up?
Hey, Rob. Speak up a little, Rob.
We had this discussion when he first made his entrance in Roger's stream. And it's this idea that that really has really been codified in the collective consciousness of black people, that black men just ain't contributed shit to the well-being and the forward progression of Black America in any kind of way. It's either Angela Davis, it's either Harriet Tubman, or BLM led by these silly broads, or some, you're going to really have to do a lot more reading and research, because, when you come to these discussions acting as if black men have not contributed, first of all, if it wasn't for, you can make the case, man, if it wasn't for, Booker T setting up, Tuskegee and helping, ensure that black men got a lot of trades, we would have really been up shit creek. For him to be able to secure Tuskegee and be able to get that money the way he got it was very shrewd, but it was somebody who really saw the future of what black people were going to need in terms of building their economic infrastructure. And even during that time, there was a debate on who was going to win out between the newly freed blacks and poor whites. And after about 20 years after being out of slavery, they were saying black people were winning.
Yep.
They were saying black people were winning. That was black men. Not saying that black women weren't contributing either, because they were. but black men were leading those endeavors. You know, so this idea, even Black Uber talked about this, how black men were just really out there getting patents at a high level as well. So this notion that black men just been sitting on their hands and not doing anything is just something that people, obviously have been hearing in their families. Your dads ain't doing nothing, your men ain't doing nothing. And it's just something that children just, as adults, really need to grow up, need to really read and really understand things that
Can I
take
respond to
place.
that?
Hold
Things
on.
that really
Hold
take
on.
place because,
All right.
hold on, because you keep making this argument when you come in these spaces like they ain't doing nothing. They ain't doing nothing. Roger had to really explain this stuff because you asked the question, what's the definition of a good black man? And Roger had to tell you, like, does any other man have to qualify himself like that? And you still, for some reason, won't let that go. You still, for some reason, in your mind, you make it seem there's no way you could even be here if black men didn't do anything. You couldn't even be here because we'd have lost. We'd have been gone. So the fact that you're here meant somebody else before you did something to allow you to actually be here. So you really need to, do a little bit more reading and really see the works. People like Booker T. Washington, who actually started the National Negro Business League, that's actually still in existence, which Teddy Roosevelt used as a template to set up the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And his National Negro Business League was set up as a way for black businesses to actually network with one another.
I'm going to say this real quick because I got two things in the chat I need to address. Questions. How many people are teaching their children to do what your aunt did regarding securing a pension? That's not being taught. Is that my fault? My father's about to have 100% pension from the military for disability. Is that his fault? Not everybody's going to make it, kid. Was that the question you wanted to pose? See, this is how I know you were raised differently from men. Men are competitive. If we were playing whatever favorite sport we like to play, guess what we got to say? Sucks to be you, nigga.
Yeah.
Am I lying? Sucks to be you. It's not my fault I'm good and you suck.
Real
Sucks
talk.
to be you. Sucks to be you. I'm a male. I'm competitive. Okay? You could tell this feminazi bullshit has invaded your minds and infiltrated masculinity as a whole because guess what? It's not my job to teach every kid. I cannot possibly teach her. I can put the Gray Faulkner initiative out on everybody's panel. Am I supposed to open your fucking eyes, open the damn PDF, and make you read?
Look,
And then hold on, Art. I got another one that I had to address from TL. The older generations positioned the boomers for success. The boomers did not position millennials for success. Bullshit.
Agreed.
Shit. Okay? Because there's a little thing called civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little thing called we will fight for you. Let me see. What generation was Johnny Cochran? We know him for the OJ case, but do you know he was one of the lawyers who was trying to actually get a think tank together to think about for reparations? But you know what? Somebody said it in the chat, and I wish you could post it again to give you credit for saying it. The only thing we care about are celebrities and bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how so many people know fucking LeBron James's name and not Dr. Claude Anderson.
Agreed.
It's so many goddamn people who would make a fucking disrespect the memory of Brother Malcolm and Dr. King by making a freedom to twerk fucking party.
I remember that. That's fucked up. Yep.
But do you think a Jew would allow you to disrespect their heroes? Do you think a Muslim would do it? Hispanics? They may make fun of some certain stereotypes of their culture, but you're hands off with their heroes. Here it is. Half of you motherfuckers probably booed fucking Bill Cosby.
Sure did.
But 2/3 of you motherfuckers probably got a scholarship in some way, either directly or indirectly, because of Dr. William Cosby.
Say that again for the congregation. They didn't fucking hear you, bro.
But yet, you want to put down Bill Cosby, but you motherfuckers are going to the clubs listening to some Cardi B who actually did the shit that she did and admitted it. And that's the shit set you up for success. You know it's fucked up. You know it's real fucked up, and I'm gonna give it back to Art a bit more for a second. You know it's real fucked up is when you gotta go see your parents, go to a job they hate, just to put a smile on your fucking ungrateful faces. And I can tell a lot of people ain't fucking parents. There's times I'm in the patrol car crying because I miss my son, or I'm in pain from some damn injury, or I'm just sore, I'm tired. But motherfuckers get a little bit of COVID and y'all don't even want to go back to fucking work. Get the fuck out of here. But go ahead, Art.
Listen.
All right, if I can jump in here for a second.
He gave the floor to me. Let me
Oh no,
talk.
okay, go ahead. I thought you said you were listening. I'm sorry.
I just been here quiet.
You got it after Art. But Art didn't say anything, and I kind of almost interrupted him.
Listen, a lot of damn millennials are fucking lazy. I see the shit every fucking day. I manage millennials. When I was a manager, and I started giving out applications to these guys, they did not come to the job. I could have hired them right then and there. They did not want to come. I got.
Oh my fucking god!
Can I finish my statement, please, without being interrupted? I gave these guys applications. They didn't want to come to the job. I got a car right now for my millennial nephew from my sister. He doesn't even want to give us fucking license. I got a car for him right now. He can have. And I was going to pay for his insurance for a whole fucking year. Just because I knew it was going to be high for him. Because this is the first time he's ever owned a car. He would rather go get a moped instead of get that car. That's the shit that I'm dealing with millennials. When I'm seeing 32-year-old men posting pictures of when their room was 19 years old to where their room that they're still living in now at their parents' house, talking about how much they upgraded.
What?
I'm seeing that shit on fucking Facebook.
Can you say that again? Because they didn't hear you.
They are 32 fucking years old, still living at home with their mom and dad, posting pictures like they're doing something because they got 3 monitors in a child bedroom room. You ain't doing shit, okay? You ain't doing shit. A lot of you guys ain't doing shit. And then when you got people like me that had to work their ass off, I came to Raleigh without even a fucking car. I had a bicycle that was stolen. But I still had to find a fucking way. And right now I got fucking 2 cars and a fucking high-ass credit score. I can't blame my parents for not teaching me about credit because they didn't know nothing about credit. I can't blame them. It's my responsibility once I turn 18 to improve my fucking life. All I had to do was go off their teachings. When I was trying to figure out fucking the credit system, I went on fucking YouTube. I went on fucking books. I learned that shit. I learned about a secure credit card when I was fucking 25. I learned how to do all that shit by myself. But I'm not gonna sit there and blame my fucking parents for not teaching me about certain shit, because all they could teach me is what they know. That's it.
But wait a minute, Art. We didn't get all the gifts of the Transformers and Thundercats when we were little. Wait a minute. But wait a minute. I wasn't allowed to.
That's a good one.
I wasn't allowed to date, even though I did get a shitload of Transformers and Thundercats and He-Mans. I'm not gonna lie. My parents worked their asses off. But guess what? Much given, much is required. See, my dad told you, my mom has an associate's in early childhood. My mom has 2 city jobs, crossing guard and food service worker. Okay, somebody got a lot of background noise.
Sorry about that, Charles. Sorry about that. That's me.
I was about to, oh, that's cool. I thought you needed help. I was about to fly over there and kick somebody's ass for you.
I'm good, man. Pretty good.
My chin over ring, you got it.
He slide furniture across the floor and shit.
It's like,
hey,
but go ahead since you didn't speak.
If I could say one thing, I came in late. That's why I didn't speak. I'm really late. However, to chime in on what Art said and what Hoffman Faulkner said, yo, that shit's real. Your parents can't teach you what they don't know. They can only teach you what they do know and pass on their wisdom to you. It's up to you to use opportunities that are provided by your family, whatever they are, however great, however small. You work those opportunities to your greatest advantage. That's what you do. That's what your parents expect you to do. That's why when my father said to me, Eric, whatever you do, be better than me. You know what type of dagger that was? In my heart, when my father said, Eric, whatever you do, be better than me. My father worked 30 years with the post office, made money, dressed my mom's fly. Okay? 6 years old, I'm on a cruise liner with my mother and father in Bermuda, having big fun. You hear me? 6 years old. I'll never forget that. At 14 years old, mom made arrangements, called up Pop. Hey, I want to send Eric to summer camp. I don't want to hang it in the city. I'm not going to allow for it. I've never allowed him to do that. We've never allowed him to do that. And they didn't. Block parties? Nah, ain't happening. You ain't going there because I know what that's about. So no, you're not going. Find something else to do. And then we can arrange it. Okay, but now going back to what I was talking about, my mother arranged for me to go to summer camp in St. Lucia. Do you hear me? St. Lucia summer camp. Living on hotel grounds. Had my own hotel room to myself. You understand? There's certain things that your parents do for you materialistically. They want to show you, yeah, we got it. We're going to pass a little bit on to you. So when they're restrictive about what you do and how you move, sit down, shut the fuck up, listen, let it marinate in your mind, heart, and soul, then carry on. That's my spiel. Next man up.
Appreciate you. If I could jump in here for a second. Officer Faulkner, I was wondering if you could share my screen for a second. Because we were talking about earlier when I made the statement about where are people at, you know, who's supposed to be kind of like leading the way, right? Byron Allen, you guys know who he is,
Yeah.
or at least should know who he is. He went to President Barack Obama and he says, hey, listen, because we're talking about the pensions, and he said, listen, can Black people, you know, can you put it to where we can manage the pensions? Right, of the people in the government, can we just manage the government pensions? Barack Obama said unequivocally no. That would set Black people straight for eons, just managing the pensions, right? Zero. What we get is a lot of talking from these guys, but absolutely nothing. What keeps me up late right now is that I'm looking at a $1.8 billion mortgage loan servicing release packet from Fannie Mae. Officer Faulkner, if he can share the screen, he can see it. So I'm putting together an offer to manage $1.8 billion in mortgages. As you can notice at the top, see what this says? Confidential. These are the things that I'm talking about when you guys hear me speak, that our people before us should be laying out the foundation for this stuff because they knew all of this stuff, or they at least should know.
Some
But
did,
where,
some didn't.
but where are they? But where are they to walk us through this stuff? They're nowhere to be found. But they keep telling us about the past. They keep telling us about how much we don't know and how much we're not doing. We are out here doing things, but they're not here to walk us through this shit. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. One, a lot of things in the government, a lot of older black people were not privy to. I'm going to give you something. You heard of this guy called Jesus Christ, right?
I have.
You heard about the mount on the hill when, first and foremost, the people were hungry. So what did Jesus do with that bread and that fish?
He fed them.
He multiplied it.
He multiplied it.
He multiplied it and fed them.
So do you know what that parable means? You need to feed the body, the needs of the body first before you can ever talk to the spirit.
That's right.
So, I'm gonna say that again for the Negroes in the back who didn't hear me. You need to take care of the needs of the body first before you can ever talk to the spirit. A black man ain't gonna give a damn about Fannie Mae if he can't get a job.
Exactly.
A black woman ain't gonna give a damn about Fannie Mae if she doesn't have a food.
Preach.
See, a lot of times we look at these elders who gained the wisdom that we're privy to in our 20s and 30s that it took them 70 years to attain. Why do you think they made the saying, youth is wasted on the young? So at some point in the military, fire department, security, definitely tell you, some of the guys on this panel were veterans. The first person you command is your damn self.
Mm-hmm.
Before anybody else.
Hey, there's a lot of moving around. It's kind of difficult to hear you sometimes.
I'm going to say it again. The first parent, the first person you command is yourself. You have to be a seeker of knowledge before you can become knowledgeable. And TL, you need to actually post to my Cash App. And by the way, since I'm pausing, thank you, TVA, for supporting the channel and the conversation. Thank you. Don't forget to hit the Cash App, support it. Now, and let me get back into this. Your ancestors and your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents really didn't have to give a damn about if you made it through college. They were trying to survive through racist ass America. When people say America's racist, that old time religion releases, that shit was as hot as fucking Georgia heat. Okay, Georgia heat is very unforgiving. I've done my time in Fort Benning, Georgia. I know. So when you're like trying to survive, when many of your fucking family members had to when your grandfather had to tell you a story when he was 11 and 10 And the reason why we had the family farm to this day in Windsor, North Carolina, is because a 9 to 10-year-old and all these kids, all 12 of them, had to grab rifles and guns and shoot fucking Klansmen off their fucking property. What do you think if they didn't fight back, what would happen? You probably wouldn't be speaking to me right now, would you?
Yeah, niggas would have got lynched.
So we got to think about survival in their mindset. And at some point, you become the commander. And any paramilitary organization, when it's on your hands, it's on you. When you're the supervisor, hey Art, when you supervise, when you go to work and become the supervisor and something happens on your shift, can you blame the last shift?
Nope.
Hey.
If all falls on me.
Hey.
Because once I take it over, I'm supposed to go over everything to make sure everything's good. If everything's not good, then it's up to me to take care of it.
Exactly.
That's my responsibility.
Hey, Eric, when you were at embassy security, could you blame the guy you relieved when it's on your post?
Nope, not a damn thing. Let's go back. I just want to say one sidebar, Charles. Okay, let's go back to the 80s and let's go back to the Sergeant Longtree incident in Moscow, USSR. The whole fucking detachment, including the detachment commander, got relieved for cause, except for one brother who defected. You hear what I'm saying? One brother actually defected to the USSR. You know why? Because he was so fucking shook. He knew what was going to happen when he went back stateside. He said, no, I can't take all that. I can't take that heat. I knew that heat was coming. Hot and heavy. You understand?
Soviet Union?
Yeah. Court martial, UCMJ. Hey, man, court martial was in effect. When you go through court martial, and all of them probably went through special court martial rather than summary court martial. They got their asses handed to them. And I'm sure that some of them are languishing right now in, what's that prison? What's that famous prison?
Leavenworth.
Yeah. Leavenworth ain't no joke. I'm going to tell you why.
Bread and water, baby.
Yeah, you got master sergeants and gunnery sergeants, all salty motherfuckers that know they're going to be here the rest of their lives. They will whoop your ass day in and day out. The only thing they won't try to do is rape you. But other than that, they'll whoop your ass up in there.
Military life is different, Pookie.
Military life is hard.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, when y'all talk about this shit, when y'all talk about this whole responsibility, that's the one goddamn thing that gets me about shit. You got to be responsible. You got to do things by hook or by crook. And I'm happy that you have, the man. I'm glad you got shit like that for Fannie Mae, because you're privy to that conversation. You're privy to that information to disperse it out.
Yeah, lead the charge, man.
You got to be the leader for that. How many times have you seen me and other people's panels post the Gray Faulkner Initiative?
Well, and that's the reason why I'm here.
Well, then you need to do more. So
all the time, Charles.
I mean, forget what you feel like the boomers didn't do. What are you doing to curtail that? Stop blaming them and start being with the image that you need to be for the next generation.
Well, the whole thing is, man, is that when you hear these guys shitting on us, as if like this is the whole generation of us that, and granted, we do get a bad name because of some of the craziness that, people that was born in our, the millennials, some of the things that they actually do, right? But on the flip side of the coin, they're acting as if like they did everything that was perfect because they went through the whole civil rights deal.
They never did.
What I'm saying is,
I'm gonna tell you something that my brother, because he's 3 years younger than me, right? We both grew up in the same household. We both saw the same shit. You know what my brother told me that pissed me the fuck off about my father, who's a boomer? You know what he said?
I'm listening.
He said he didn't do enough for us.
Okay. So then let's unpack that.
Well, if that ain't some ungrateful bullshit.
He said it was his fault that we live the way that we live, right? Do you know that my father worked 3 jobs to put a roof over a head of a woman that he met who had 2 kids before a marriage that this was dissolved, and 2 more kids that belonged to him. So there were 4 children in that house, a wife and a husband.
It couldn't have been me, or it couldn't have been my grandfather. Because I would have said some shit like this. My grandfather, he would have said, strip butt naked right now in this house. Now walk outside. You don't need me. I didn't do enough for you. Remember? That's what your daddy should have did.
Well, check this out, AL.
No, I am not done.
Okay, go ahead, Art.
Because this is fucking serious right now.
It is indeed.
Because this is
go ahead, Art.
This is fucking serious. You got him, a millennial, 3 years younger than me, saying this shit, knowing that this man worked 3 fucking jobs. He worked a fucking 9 to 5, and he worked 2 jobs night shift. 6 days a week. 6 fucking days a week. He busted his ass. Did not complain not once. He got the fuck up and he did his fucking job. But I can't get fucking millennials his age or younger to come work at my damn store and do what they need to do. I can't.
How old is he? I'm just curious. How old is he? I don't know.
He is a millennial.
He's
do the math.
36. Okay.
All right, now go, Eric.
All right.
What I want to say is this. Your parents give you what they can give you. And realize this. The way I see it is this. When I was a baby, okay, I realized that my parents were like gods to me. I was utterly and totally dependent upon them. The way they molded me was the way I grew up. Is it going to be perfect? Never. Humanity is never going to be perfect. Okay? Are they going to say some shit that it seems like they're shitting on you? Yeah. But guess what? If you turn right back around and shit on them for shitting on you, what progress are we making? What progress are we making? None. Do what concerns you now when you're living now. Okay?
And if you do that, you backtrack what the Z's are doing too.
And I'm going to say this.
It ain't just about how you feel, because we sick of this too.
Yeah,
and you just pushed it off on us. If we get real about it.
I'm going to put it to you this way. I don't mind Truth being on here because Truth, believe it or not, is actually more mature than the average 19-year-old nowadays. Good God. he might have his outbursts. He might have his emotional outbursts, but that's more passion than just being emotional.
That's
passion. It really is passion.
We can deal with that. We can deal with his outburst. We don't have to calm him down. As far as his thinking goes, he thinks like a grown man. That's what we appreciate about Truth.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
you got to think about this. You got to think about this, right? Many things can be told, but very few can be understood. Do I need to say that again for the niggas in the back? Many things can be told, but very few things are going to be understood.
It's like you're hearing, but you don't listen.
You're not listening. You're not listening, boys.
You're hearing, boy, but you don't.
A lot of motherfuckers say, "Well, do you think it's okay for the school to whip your child's ass?" If he's acting a fool, yes. There's a difference between abuse and correction. This is that feminist. Hold on. Hold on.
Okay, just let me know when I can go.
All right.
Yeah, I got
it's this feminazi fucking shit that invaded our fucking ball sacks and castrated us from the inside out. guess what? A lot of shit went on in basic training. And because motherfuckers cry to their little mommies, instead of realizing you volunteered to go to a fucking organization that's designed for warfare, you got motherfuckers who's trying to wear pearl earrings and fucking military fucking uniforms. You know why I didn't mind don't ask, don't tell? It's not my business for you to tell. Do your job.
That's right.
I don't give a fuck who you go to bed with. Are you going to...
They should have listened to Bill. They should have listened to Bill Clinton on that one.
Yeah, because guess what? When you fuck around and you tell people, I don't give a fuck, be the best fucking American soldier, Marine, fucking sailor, airman, space, whatever the fuck they're going to call the Space Force.
And Coast Guardsmen as well.
Coast Guard. Do your job to your fullest. Nobody gives a fuck about who you go to bed with. What you do it off matters, off post. But when it comes on post, we have a standard. Well, what about representation? We have a standard. We're not about sex. We're about defending freedoms and countries.
Well, the reason why... Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The reason why I asked about the age groups is because it seems like the millennials that are like 40 older, they have a little bit different work ethic and a little bit different outlook on life than the
which is true.
Than the 38 and younger, right? So and I'll be honest with you, I have the same issues, right? Because I'm staring down the barrel of making a bid to get these loans, right? Which is going to be a nice chunk of loans and for my investors. And the deal is being able to hire people who's going to be able to service these loans, right? So this is an issue that we're looking at right now and how to deal with the psychology of these kids, because that's correct. It's true. They don't want to work. Now, our parents did set us up, you know, for us to be able to have access to this type of white collar jobs, right? Because prior to that, there were like no white collar jobs for blacks. Now we have access. Now we have access to them. There's a lot of blue collar jobs, but now we have access to white collar jobs, and because of it, it's trying to get these kids to do work. So what do you guys suggest psychologically? Because quite frankly, and we were talking about corporal punishment earlier. Now, when you're growing up with a man in the house, corporal punishment is understood, right? But the ones that don't have men in the house, large parts of them, how do we deal with these people? Because you can't get them to work.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the Gray Faulkner Initiative. And this is the part when you got to circumvent female thinking. Females don't like the difference. Females don't like the fucking, contrary to popular belief, this modern female does not like to be around their children.
That's true. They don't like them. Yeah, they don't like.
They don't like them. See, if you notice how fathers, I wish I could. I got to go in my archives and show. Do you like BGS to take snippets of my shit? The way Eric Ingram speaks about his children, he's elated. He's even greater than happiness and love. Okay, he's proud of his children. He adores them. He will move heaven, earth, and pull hell to please them. But those kids also knew there's a certain line you do not cross with daddy, correct?
Indeed.
And see, this the problem with this is that you circumvent the thought of the female. You tired of being with your kids? We got this free program that we're gonna get financed by the government. Come on, drop your boys off this weekend. Everybody's got their fingerprints. Nobody's a sexual predator. We'll teach them how to do. We'll have AB doing classes or something, teaching them graphic designs, or Dead Set teaching them animation. We'll have Eric Ingram doing drilling ceremony, showing them how to make their beds and how to march, and do shit dress right dress. we'll get Truth, to be one of the counselors to teach them some b-ball and football, and also to help them to tutor them in STEM. We'll get Art of IBMOR to teach them management skills. We'll get AB to show them how to become a trucker, an owner operator, and also how to do stuff like troubleshoot your truck. You see what I mean? We'll have
insurance
Raw.
schemes. Shout out to Alonzo Hall.
Word up.
Hey, straight up and down, because he's talking serious business.
Yeah, well, he's talking serious business with insurance. Trust me. One of the reasons why Black people don't get inheritance is because Black people don't have insurance. Should I say that again?
Yeah.
Reason why Black people don't get inheritance because your Black ass don't have insurance.
Well,
I've always said
Black people don't have a trust. That's the problem. They don't have a trust established. That's the reason why there's no inheritance.
Exactly.
Not because they don't have insurance, because they don't have a trust.
See, we could get the guy. I know, yeah, by the way, thank you again, Dead Set, for the support.
Sir.
For the Pantho tax. We got the Pantho tax, And see, this is where the man can come in and he can have classes on Fannie Mae.
Yeah.
This is basically the Great Faulkner Initiative, where we are our brother's keeper.
Yep.
For the boys who don't have fathers, and even if you do have a father, get your ass on board too.
Charles, say that line again for those way in the back that didn't hear you. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. You see, y'all don't understand us. We are our brother's keeper.
There you go.
Okay. And a lot of people don't understand that factoid. Speaking of two military old fucking farts.
Damn, Charles.
God damn. That was uncalled for.
Well, I'm officially.
I'll take that from you.
I'm officially the old fart too, because when I joined it was 21 years. No. Excuse me. Let me stop lying. Let me see. It was 21 years ago. God damn. No, 20. Yep. 20. What am I? No, 22 years ago. God damn. I'm an old fart too.
Hey, Sandog, you see the outright disrespect, Sandog? You see this shit?
What's up? What's up, Jay Sean? Wu-Tang, motherfucker.
Jay Sean, how you
doing? What's up, gentlemen?
What's up? And what's up? Hey, Captain Jack.
Yo, what's going on?
Always good to see you, bro. Always good to see you.
What's that in the fellas?
Hey, Captain Jack, meet me down by the railroad track.
With that weapon in your hand, I'm going to be a fighting man. Yes, sir.
Hey, Jay Sean,
Yes,
how's life in Deutschland?
It's good, man. I mean, it was a cool summer, man. But outside is good, man. I can't wait till next weekend. I'll be in Austria.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. How's
nice,
and hey, Captain Sad Dog, how you feeling? How's the little girl?
Oh, she's doing great, man.
Yes,
6 months strong.
6 months strong. Oh man, you already teaching her how to do butt strokes and shit.
Congrats.
Hey, if you don't mind, brethren, I'm gonna pray for her. You hear me?
Yo, thank you. I appreciate it.
Right on.
Just in case. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna talk after you, Sandog.
No, I was just saying, man. Again, shout out to the brothers, and again, history is something that's very important. And I think that, one of the things for African Americans especially is that we are extraordinarily harsh on ourselves in regards to the progress, that we've made collectively. So when you talk about generations of African Americans before you, you're talking about, or why I wasn't taught this or that. When you talk about survival, to your point, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when you get my father was born in the 50s, and he will be the first person in his family to finish high school. You know what I'm saying? And so so it's just like what Officer Charles was saying. So when you're looking at survival, things are different. And then even for me, like if you go down my family tree, all the men have served in the military, and I'm the first officer after God knows how many years. And what I would share or what I would like to share with African American men is that history the way that we use history, or African Americans have used history previously, is that history does you no good if it's only used as a I gotcha moment, or I caught you with your pants down. And these are the things that we typically like to do. Whereas in the military, in the world of business, you have something called game theory, right? And game theory is where you're looking at what your opponent is doing or may do, and you plan for it. On the battlefield, it's called the intelligence preparation of the battlefield, where you'll develop 3 courses of action. Then you'll turn the sand table around, and you'll develop 3 courses of actions for your enemy. And then that's how you get the plan, right? Same thing in NFL or BJJ when guys watch hours and hours of tape, right? So when you look at somebody like Deion Sanders, you're looking at Deion Sanders thinking that it's automatic and he has all this natural talent. But what made Deion Sanders, or Peyton Manning was a lot of academic work that went in front of the talent. And so the point that I'm trying to say is that, for in terms of fixing our condition, you're going to have to take history and not just use it as a I gotcha moment, but you're going to have to use it to look at the past in order to predict the future. So before I went to war, I was sitting in my house. I studied, I'm going there as a part of heavy division. We have tanks, Bradleys, and everything else. So what did I study? I studied World War II. I read the father of my craft, who was Rommel, from, the German or the Nazi military. I've read Montgomery from the British, what I'm saying, and so on and so forth. And so I use that history in order to gain experience and learn from the mistakes of others when I went to the war. So for African Americans, you could look at, okay, this is what happened to us with redlining in Chicago. This is what we did. This is what the outcome is. And our desired goals are still these 3 things. And these are the recommendations that we have going forward.
And what do you call that from the military? What is that called?
This is called intelligence preparation of the battlefield. And so I'll tell it to you because, again, I was both the tank platoon leader and the scout platoon leader, right? And so you can't just go out there and just simply fight. So hold on, I'll tell you what the steps are to the intelligence. Hold on, preparation.
Captain Sandog, may I ask you a question, just real quick? Did you read Mein Kampf?
Yes, I have. I own it. Yeah.
I thought so. I have it on PDF now. Finally.
Yeah.
Let me add something. Sandog, let me add something to what you just said real quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And by the way, before you speak, you got about how many veterans on this panel right now?
I think 4, 5.
2, 3. Yeah, about 5. 5. Yeah.
With over 100 years of experience.
And what Sandog is saying is right. And I'm coming from an operational background. And I still work in operations from time to time. And in operations we have something called counterintelligence.
Yes.
Which is another level to the game. And what happens in the military is, I think since the 90s, the military has picked a lot of this from the CIA. We have something called compartmentalization, where one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. So it's orchestrated, like a waltz. So when Sandog is doing what he's doing, there's other people in another place doing counterintelligence. You got to be able to counter what's coming down the pipe as well. So these are people who have strategies in case this happens and doesn't go right, then this happens, then we have another response.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, you're absolutely. I'm just agreeing with you, Jay Sean. Not
No. I was cutting you off, so I want you to finish.
So the 4 steps are in the IBP process is to define the battlefield environment, right? So again, it's like when I talked to you guys before, we were talking about politics, and the battlefield environment is I'm in the desert, it's urban. What's the disposition of the people? So you have something called the enemy disposition, right? Are the people friendly towards America, or they're not so friendly towards America, right? Then you have things called commander's critical information requirements, and these will determine future courses of action. But just to simplify it down, again, you're just looking at what the environment is, right? And so if I'm on a tank, which is 75 tons combat load, I know that if I'm in a forest or swamp-like area with trees, I can't do the same things with that tank that I could do with the open desert. So I would have to plan. So I would have to take that and I would have to plan accordingly, right? Then the other thing is to describe the battlefield's effects, right? Again, the same thing. So again, when you're looking at things like weather, barometric temperature, same thing. So in the open desert, right, I could, with my gunner was so good, he could hit a target 2 miles out. But once you get into forests and everything else, things like field of fire or in the urban area, you might not have the same vision or flexibility that you would have with your sectors of fire in terms of an open environment. So that's an effect. So that's an effect of the battlefield, right? And then you would evaluate, what your threats are. So if I know that my enemy has BMPs, what type of equipment that they have. So for me, I was in what was called Force 21. We had the most advanced equipment that the Army could offer at that particular time. So if I'm dealing with somebody that has EMP capabilities or whatever the case might be, then that's something I have to take into effect. Then I will have to determine the threat courses of action, just like I told you. So I would make 3 plans for one objective, right? Because again, I will make 3 plans, and in the military, Jay Shaw will tell you that you're supposed to, by doctrine, fight 3-to-1 odds. So if I'm in a cavalry troop, then we're looking to attack a platoon, right? So it's not going to be one company. It's not going to be one company against the other, at least according to doctrine, right? Because the idea is to segregate their forces, divide and conquer. You heard it all before, and so you'll have your plans, and just like I said before, you'll take that sand table and turn it around, and you'll say, okay, well, I have this equipment. I'm fighting the Americans. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What would I do against them? And then the last step in any operations order, and I mean, this is not one of the steps of IBB, but if you have the time, the last step in any operations order, and what the military guys here will tell you, is that you rehearse, right? And so again, so a lot of times, like when you see guys like Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, the reason why they could respond the way they did is because they prepared for it. And that's the thing. So even for me, that's probably why I'm not a professional athlete today, because I didn't respect athletics as an academic institution, right? So I didn't know that guys like Deion Sanders and them sit there and watch tape.
Yeah.
Or that Peyton Manning had a book on every defensive coordinator in the NFL, and he would sit there and watch tape and understand. And understand what people are going to do. So for me, it took things like the military and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and martial arts, because, for the military, you can get killed. And then, when you get into martial arts, right? So the first time I got my block knocked off because I didn't keep my guard up, that's when I respected sports as an academic institution.
Quick question. Point of order. Quick question, Sando. In martial arts, what's the main advantage in martial arts? I'm just curious.
There's 2.
Because from what I understood, I think using your enemy's weight against them, or using
there's 2. The ultimate martial art
is not the fight.
It's not the fight at all. End the fight without fighting.
Right.
The second one.
I'm saying. I'm sorry. I'll rephrase my question. In the fight, what's the greatest tool? And I thought it was using the enemy's weight and force against them. Right.
The two greatest tools are these, at least from my wrestling, MMA, and boxing standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest lessons I learned, the greatest reversal in the world has ever known, is to never get in that situation or hold it in the first place. Number 2, let your enemy always be on the aggressive, but always invite your enemy to walk into their own destruction.
Yes.
Want me to explain? Let's say I'm wrestling with Jay Sean. Jay Sean's ultra aggressive. He's coming forward. I'm going to toy with him a little bit to see if he really wants to go forward. Somebody who's not that experienced and don't know how to do setups. In wrestling, there's a setup, there's an execution, and then there's the move.
right? The setup may be a head snap or an arm where I'm going to place that arm and pull you or have you circle to that one side. Fake, I'm going to get your one leg and go for the other. See how it executed into that takedown.
Or
So
set up a bunch of feints in a boxing match. It's feints.
Yep. You do a lot of feints. You have the person reacting to you. You make them go to your sheet of music.
A feint left hook.
And let's say you're in judo jiu-jitsu. Guess what? This guy wants to try to muscle you. Okay, he wants to push. Anything that wants what's the laws of physics? Anything that wants to go forward will keep going forward until something suddenly stops, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you keep going forward. I'm just gonna sidestep you.
Or not even that, Charles. Like you said again, like if you could wrap that person in the guard, so it's the same thing. Because once I wrap you in the guard,
stay in motion.
You know what I'm saying? Be it around your waist or preferably around your neck, then I can control where your body goes.
Mm-hmm. Where the head goes, the body follows.
Correct. Yeah.
So you got about 100 years of experience in warfare. God only knows what they taught Eric Ganger when he was an embassy duty. Good God Almighty, they were some mean motherfuckers, boy.
And you know what, Officer Faulkner, you know what? We had the opportunity when we went to Camp Munchunk, which is the most southern part of South Korea. Cold as a motherfucker, man. December. We spent Christmas, man, cold as hell, drinking hot cocoa, pretending that we drinking eggnog. You hear me?
I'm gonna tell you, I know y'all motherfuckers. See, a lot of people who don't understand that embassy duty, you gotta be not only the sharpest Marine, but you gotta be the most fightingest motherfuckers too. Because if anything happens, like he said, it's on you and it's on your ass.
That's true,
man. You are.
No, what I want to say though.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sandog.
I don't want to cut off Sandog.
Go ahead. Go ahead. All right.
Okay. What I want to say is this: you being the wrestling expert here, did you? I wish you would have gotten a chance to wrestle with the Rock Marines. They call that's what they call them in short. Republic of Korea, of course, the South Korean Marines. These motherfuckers are bad as shit. Now, what these motherfuckers do when they wrestle you, what they do is they compel you to use your weight, and they use your weight against them to your disadvantage. Okay, so when you're being overly aggressive, they'll let you do that, and they'll fuck you up. I've seen it, man, and I'm talking about little dudes my size and smaller. Okay. These Rock Marines, these motherfuckers carry telephone poles on their motherfucking shoulders for training. You hear what I'm saying? That's what they was doing in the late 80s.
You know what's funny? And how I could tell you're not lying, because my father said the same thing when he was training with them in the 70s.
Yeah.
He said, well, we were looking at the military channel, and you know how civilians will say shit and don't know shit.
Yeah. What you say, nigga?
Them motherfuckers were saying they had the civilians were worried about North Korea. My father looked at me and was like, shit, them motherfuckers don't want no smoke from no fucking South Korean Marines or SEALs. Those some nasty little motherfuckers.
They are, man. They're treacherous, man. And they all about it. Once they get focused, you done. Because they ain't gonna stop till they die. You hear me?
Them motherfuckers, like, imagine, see, most people are scared of the lion. See, the lion, they go for the jugular. The South Korean Marines and the SEALs, just like we have Navy SEALs here, they have SEAL teams too. Think of them motherfuckers like a colony of fire ants all over your body.
And they will. And guess what? You would pray for the lion if a colony of fucking fire ants are all over you.
Facts.
They would just fucking eat you alive. But go ahead, Sando.
No. But you know what? Simple $5. That's facts. I wasn't in Korea, but one of my old soldiers, because had I stayed in the army to take troop command, I was gonna end up in 4-7, right there at the border, right? And so, and so they, my old gunner, when I was a scout platoon leader, he said, "Sir," he said, "when you see the U.S. Army run by, you could just turn your head casually and go, there's the U.S. Army." He said, when the Rock Army run by, your neck will snap. He said, that's how fast they run it.
Yeah. Them motherfuckers ain't no joke, man. And they ain't no big motherfuckers, man. But they got a will in them, man. They got a fire in their belly, man.
Yeah.
And they got a heart for their country, man, that it cannot be denied.
And it's funny because a quick sidebar, when I was in Iraq, I was working with a former combat engineer. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Iraq Army. And we were sitting with the Iraqis, and the Iraqis were talking about, whatever drama that they had dealing with America. And this didn't come from me. This came from a lieutenant colonel in the Korean Army. He told those Iraqis, he said, when you deal with the Chinese, you're going to miss the Americans. He said, when you guys do things like shoot your rockets at American bases or blow up some American soldiers with the IED, the Americans will come out there, they'll talk with you, they'll work with you, they'll try to investigate it like a crime and find out who did it. He said, when you do that to the Chinese, he said, nothing. His words were, nothing will be left in your village, not even the flies.
Damn.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you something, right? And everybody knows. If you haven't realized, everybody on here did some legit shit in their time. When I was part of the QRF over there, and we were talking to the village leaders, and they were like, "Well, what happened if rockets go over there? What happened if somebody shoots at you?" And I never really talked, but my sergeant wanted me to do the talking, so I guess I was in charge for the day. You know how your sergeants, your head NCOs, and make the specialists or corporals like in charge for the day. And I said something very similar. I said, we'll level this motherfucker to the ground. I said I'm from Baltimore. We don't play that shit. When you shoot at us, you shoot a bullet at us, several coming back at you. And
in comes dead set. Because I was I was FTC. So I was headquarters
for the civilians, let them know what that means.
Fire Direction Center or Fire Direction Control. So I worked right next to. Yes, sir. I was out. I came through Fort Sill.
Gunner, Bulldog Red 1.
Yes, sir. 75th Brigade, bro. But yeah, so I was FTC for the MLRS system, headquarters level. So I had 9 launchers under me. And we worked, talking about the S shops, we worked right next to S3 and S4. So when fire came, when it came time to call for fire, at the time that I was in, we were doing joint operations. Because when you're dealing with indirect fire, you got to work with the Army Air Corps. Air Corps people know that as helicopters. Sometimes if there were Marines or like helicopters or Harriers, or if there were Air Force jets in the AO, hey, we had to talk to them. So it was more big picture shit. But anybody who knows the MLRS system, they're called grid knockers. So ATACMs or just a platoon of launchers will level everything in 1 square kilometer. And if that rocket went out of range because we entered our met data wrong or something went off, hey, the lieutenant answered for that shit. And I seen the lieutenant get hung out to dry because one of our rockets landed in somebody's backyard at Fort Sill. And that shit was all over the newspaper.
Oh, damn.
Yep.
He went to jail, fam.
Oh, yeah. Man, we didn't see that guy. We didn't see that. I was glad I wasn't listed. I was like, damn.
Yeah, but
Hey, quick question. Hey, quick question. Des said,
Yeah.
"Are you a Gen X?"
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Hey, I just wanted to start this out there real quick, man. Between Charles, Des said, myself, and our brother, you're looking at a bunch of Gen X's that are who
I'm
are
an early millennial, but I'll take
who are part of a tradition. We're part of a tradition of being part of, the American culture. And is there somebody in the background talking to that lady?
I don't know.
Eric is about to lay down the law.
I got it. I got it. I want us to hear the
Yeah, we wanted to hear that. You know what I mean? But anyway, we're part of a tradition of service. We've always been part of America. You know what I mean? And providing protection for America and serving for America. Because while Sandog was in Iraq, Jay Sean was next to General Lovelace, and before that, General Cody, who was G3 of the Army. You understand me? That's where I was at during the Iraq War. You see what I'm saying? So I'm providing direct support, and for Miss Condon, the Deputy G3 of the Army.
And trust me, I probably worked with some of y'all during that time, because we were kicking in doors, waving the M4s.
I mean, I just wanted to say this: not bad for a bunch of Gen X's. Who really wasn't born with shit. I think what's lacking in this conversation earlier is perspective. Like let's use BGS for example. BGS was born in '59. When King was shot, BGS was only 9 years old. All right, he wasn't in the civil rights movement. So what happens is BGS inherited or was given benign neglect policies. That's what we were given after the civil rights movement. After they murdered everybody, they gave us benign neglect policies. They sucked the jobs out of the black community. They gave you heroin, prostitution, and alcohol. Okay? And that's what they were given. That's what the boomers were given. And then when we sit here and talk about, well, Gen X, they did crack. Okay, I'm born in '77. I'm not responsible for crack being on the street in '94, nigga. I was only 17 years old.
Exactly.
So we don't have perspective. You know what I mean?
But go ahead.
So let me finish this quick. We're living through a war. And that's what Sandog is talking about. We're living through a long war where there's a handoff. There's got to be a handoff and a handoff and a handoff. And each one teach one. Each generation has to teach each other what's going on. Now, one thing I love about being a Gen Xer is that we're probably the most consequential generation in modern history, because we ushered in the technical age. It's not just hip hop and everything else. We were the ones that said enough of that. All this shit you call red pill, we started that. We was the ones that said fuck a bitch. You know what I mean? That was my generation.
Yep.
All right. You know what I mean? So a lot of things. Matter of fact, my memory serves me correct. This fucking manosphere was started by Gen X.
Yeah.
All right. So we gotta have perspective, family. What are you gonna do on your time on the planet?
Exactly.
All right, chew the meat and spell out the bones. We are black people. None of us are born into some luxury and some perfect situation. Because I'm gonna tell you something else. Most white America is not born into a perfect situation. Right now, it's fucking World War Z in white society. They are strung out on drugs across America. We were just talking about this on Perfect Timing channel the other night. And we showed the videos. We talked about everything from the 1800s to the 1900s, the opioids in white America, the drug culture in America. There's only one drug that ever got his legs in America through the black community. That was crack. And we didn't even create that.
Shout out to Perfect Timing. Shout out to Perfect Timing 5.0.
We did a real good live stream the other night, man. It was me, Nino, him, and we showed. We didn't just talk. We showed what was going on. We showed what was happening right now all over the country. The tent cities, from homelessness to drugs, everything that's happening in America. It's bigger than, it's like my man said in New Jack City, it's bigger than Nino Brown.
Yep,
exactly.
Yeah, all these damn shanty towns and bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So when you complain about Gen X, black Gen X on top of that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be the only Gen X's on the planet. You know what I mean? You talking about Nino Brown, one pusher.
So you millennial niggas shut your soft asses up. Y'all ain't hear shit. Y'all ain't hear this shit to us. So let's get to that. What the fuck you got for us, motherfucker?
Let me put it to you this way. This is what. Hold on.
Because you talking all that shit about the damn boomers, but what have you handed to us?
I'm gonna tell you what we handed to you. We handed some goddamn. Go ahead, Jay Shot.
Let me get him.
I'm talking to these younger niggas that talking that shit.
Oh, okay.
Talking about these fucking boomers.
See, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you something from Go ahead,
May I
Eric.
say
Talking over each
something,
other.
Because I don't see, to be
Okay.
honest, if we counting,
May I say this one thing, and I'll
You
shut
gotta
up.
give
Okay,
the elder statesman his rights.
the biggest dope dealers in the 19th century was the British government when they tried to dope up the people of China. The
Thank
Opium
you.
War.
The opium, yeah.
Oh, I'm spinning.
You hear me?
Can you say
Massive
that
scale.
again? Because can you say that again? Because them young motherfuckers don't understand what you just said.
was that the
opium
opioid war?
I had it backwards. The Opium Wars in China. I thought it was the Brits trying to buy up and take the opium from the Chinese. It wasn't that way. The British were using opium to dope up the Chinese, and when the Chinese said no, the British said, "Okay, well, fine. You ain't gonna take this. You ain't gonna let us drug you up and take over China. Then we come to war." And the Chinese said, "Bring it, motherfuckers." Opium Wars.
Yeah. Boxer rebellion.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing. See, I can't speak for the younger millennials since I'm like the oldest millennial, the 82 to 81s. We're so much closer to Gen X that it's interchangeable.
Yeah, it's overlap. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I don't go through this laziness. Like, dude, I got scars in my body right now from line of duty work. Okay? The only reason I'm home is because I'm not hurt. I'm injured.
These niggas ain't got a job.
Let me tell you what the older millennials gave you. We put you on game. We the motherfuckers that sat you down, might even had to smack you up a little bit. Yo, go get that fucking education.
Yeah.
Go get that fucking shit. We the motherfuckers who, when I wrestled overseas, I'm only one of 2 black wrestlers out of 120 wrestlers and got a bronze medal. I'm not going to lie to you motherfuckers. I can admit when a tear comes to my eye. When I saw this year in the NCAAs in 10 weight classes, it was 5 young black men who won championships. You can't say those are Pookies and Ray Rays. These are college students doing something that never happened before. Half your fucking weight classes are owned by black men, young black men. Then one of those black men, Gabe Stevenson, said, "I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet." Won the Pan Am Games. Then guess what? His first match, he embarrassed the reigning Olympic champion 8-0. And in 0.6 seconds left, won a gold medal. Now he's signed by the WWE and going back to Minnesota to defend his NCAA title as a reigning gold medalist and finishes an education. Do you know how much of a tear came to my fucking eye when our sister Tamara, dark-skinned sister, married with Afro puffs, won a gold, the first black woman to win a medal in any country in the sport of wrestling, the first black woman to win a gold medal in any country as a black woman? Do you understand? They're younger than me. So I can imagine when my coach wrestled and he had to go to an all-white school and in the shit they called him when he beat their boy. We gave you game. See, you know, you had Sandog and Jay Sean giving the older millennials the torch. You know what? We said, all right, you got this STEM thing, right? You go into that military, we fucking Peyton Manning that shit's done, but bomb that shit. Y'all motherfuckers supposed to Lamar Jackson and run that motherfucker in.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta roll. So I just wanted to say one thing real quick before I go.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm actually working right now.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna be out of here for a little bit.
Hey, Eric, man, he's good, man. He hollering at me. He running his house right now. Running shit.
But I was about to end it in about 5-10 minutes.
I just
anyway.
want to say something real quick, man, about perspective, man. Look, Y'all blaming the boomers for everything, or blaming Gen X for crack. Let's just leave it at this. Blaming the Gen X for crack is like us blaming the millennials for the femination of black boys. You see what I'm saying? These people are going to bang on us until the end of time. They've been banging on us since Reconstruction. They're not going to stop. But it's not like you can't keep blaming your people who are constantly being inundated with policy after policy after policy, economic policy after economic policy that's really aimed to destroy you. And now they target your women, they flipped your women, they commandeered her, perverted her ass and using her as a weapon against you and your people. You see what I'm saying? And these are things that we've all been enduring. So you got benign neglect that was applied to the boomers. Can you really blame the boomers for the 70s? Can you really blame Gen X's for the crack epidemic? We don't own fucking cocaine fields. You know what I mean? So there are agendas out here that we gotta understand that are against us. There are other groups competing in the world, and just like my man just brought up a minute ago, what happened with China and Britain. That's how warfare is carried out in this world. It's not always conventional. You know what I mean? The people are using policies, economics, drugs, bioweapons, subversion. The social engineers are using
all
media.
means shit.
Yeah, they're using the media, you know what I mean, to program your kids and socialize your fucking kids against you.
Break you every day.
Hold on.
Exactly. So these are the things that we got to keep in mind. This is a war. All right, this is a fucking war, and what you have right now is your people. Let me finish, man.
Yeah.
What you have is your people. All right, now some of your people are bitten, like the fucking Walking Dead. You know what I mean? And you're gonna have to leave them motherfuckers behind. You know what I mean? Or you might have to take them out yourself. That's just part of the war. It's like triage on the field. You can't help everybody on the field. Some people you have to give that morphine or not, but leave them where they are and help the ones you can. That's also part of war. So these are the things you got to think about when we're dealing with our people and dealing with these outside energies. The question is, what are you going to do in your time? What are you going to do? Are you going to take the lessons learned and improve upon them, or are you going to just keep complaining about what wasn't given to you? That's all.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure, Jay Sean.
Appreciate you, bro.
Always a pleasure.
What Jay Sean just brought up is you have in warfare you have two things. You have what's called the forms of contact, traditional forms of contact, non-traditional forms of contact. Right? Remember what I kept bringing up about hard and soft power. Traditional forms of contact: direct fire, indirect fire, artillery, aviation, electronic warfare. Again, hard power. The soft power is what you call non-traditional forms of contact, where you attack economy, culture, you know what I'm saying? And other systems within that society that makes it run, right? This is what I was trying to explain. When I first came into the manosphere, and what a lot of the manosphere is a response to is the soft power of what you're dealing with, right? So when you look at a lot of the policies and everything that has come through that has coerced people into ways of thinking and everything else, right? All of that stuff is soft power. So, if you look at, let's say, if you look at somebody like Mitch McConnell, right? According to the African American community, right? You've seen Mitch McConnell for hundreds of years, right? He shouldn't surprise you. You've seen him for hundreds of years. But the fact that somebody could put their arm around your women and speak in a soft voice and convince your women to kill millions of your offspring, that is a problem.
That is power.
That is power.
That is
power.
That's a problem. And what happens is when you combine hard power and soft power, you get something called smart power. Right. And so and that's why I said from the beginning is that, you're enveloped in the system. Right. You're enveloped in it. So the debates that you may have between the different poles of our system, that is something that may serve you on an individual benefit. Right. But what you're facing in the system is a team sport. So one person has the stick, one person has the carrot, right? And ultimately in that you're picking your poison. So for us, a mistake like I said, a mistake that was made, and like I said, and I'll say it too, and I'll go. The mistake that was made, because again, many people fought to be America. America is our country, but the mistake that was made 100 years back, or whatever that time was that ultimately what you would have wanted or what you should have desired was your own state, right? Because
Yeah.
the only way to be free of something, because remember, a synonym for freedom is independence, right? So you're not going to be free of certain types of oppression when you're looking to integrate into that oppression, right? Because to integrate is to become a part of or to be absorbed into it, right? So another word for integrate is to assimilate. So again, and all of this came from the fact that, again, previous generations of us would not have understood things of hard power and soft power. So now we are where we are. Now we are where we are, and like I said, we just have to take history, right? And it's not something of a I gotcha moment, but you're gonna have to take that history and make it actionable.
Yeah. Amen.
Well, to all my Muslim brothers, assalamu alaikum.
Well, yeah, walaikum salam, yeah.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah.
But to that point, because I like when we talk about, I know, Charles, you're into comic books, because I remember the man was talking about, we're going to entertainment. Look at some of the entertainment that we read. Dune, for instance, is an excellent example of what Sandal was just talking about. That entire series deals with factions, and you know about what the Missionara Protectiva is and what it does and how they're planning thousands of years ahead of time, and basically psychologically how they're forcing or influencing these really hardcore cultures such as the Fremen to become something that they want them to be, and the Fremen don't even know it. I mean, the entertainment that we consume also helps us process what's going on in the world, provided that it's smart entertainment. And at the same time, it's white men who are writing this shit. So imagine the type of shit that they're on and what we got to get with. One of the things I always say is, like, just because it came from a white man's mouth doesn't mean that it's not useful, and it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Look at the movie Free Guy that just dropped. Just walk through the destruction of your world, the chaos, and you'll be fine. Just smiling through it. Everything will just happen to fall into place. You'll get the right power up, and then everything will be right.
Nope, that's called an acid trip. And you got to realize this: black men are the ultimate Americans. Okay.
Facts.
Not one war we did not participate in, and not one war we didn't raise our heads in victory. Even when they try to say we lost, we saved lives.
Well, that's true.
See, a lot of people don't want to give the black man his credit. Look, I don't hate millennials. I don't hate boomers. I just go for the thing of understanding. Look, when your parents went through segregated schools, you can't even think about it. I'm almost a 40-year-old man, and I can't even think about being somewhere segregated. What I told you is something as menial as pissing in a toilet, you could get locked up or the shit kicked out of you pissing in the wrong toilet. And it's a public bathroom. The next stage is what? Getting the jobs. The next stage is what? Getting the education. The next stage is what? Getting the money, getting the power together. See, I'm going to need you brothers on here when I do another show. And we're going to talk about what true might is. When you have hard power and soft power, that means smart power. But I'm going to go an even deeper route. It's called dictating reality.
Yep.
Yes.
Reality is defined as when you have enough power and influence to dictate reality to other people how you see fit, You, or what was my moniker last week? The most powerful man in the universe.
Yep.
Yes.
It's
Conan the
just
Barbarian.
it's not just a
Making it
He-Man
woman.
reference. It's not just a He-Man reference. I'm gonna go back into that, and I'm gonna going back into that. Notice, and see, a lot of people forget this, and the reason why we get mixed up in this shit is because we forget our roles as men and women in the black community. For the men, it's by the power. For the women, it's for the honor. I want y'all to remember that.
The honor of Grayskull.
For the honor. What did I always tell you what women supposed to do? Protect the honor and glory of their men. How your women see you is how the world sees you. I have yet for anybody to win that debate. And this is how I say, for the men, by the power, by your power, shit moves. By your power, black man, you became the lowly to equal to the richest man in the world.
What was the most powerful scene in Conan the Barbarian? When that black man told that white girl to walk off that cliff.
Mm-hmm.
She walked her ass off to her death and didn't say a word.
Mm-hmm. That's
well,
power.
I mean, if you want to talk about like experiencing segregation, right? I've experienced segregation. Chicago is one of the most, and still is one of the most segregated cities in this country. And so I know how it is and what my parents experienced because we lived through it, right? Being able to ride your bike to the tracks and didn't have to turn around. Not being able to use public restrooms in white neighborhoods and only being able to ride the bus just to go to the store because that was the only store, the large store, the Kmart, but it was strategically placed in the white neighborhood. So I know a thing or two about experiencing racism. And
oh my God.
Hold
and
on.
so go ahead.
No, I was saying the truth. Hold on, let me finish.
So the issue with me is one, about the baby boomers, because I hear people shitting on us. Not all of us are doing poorly, right? The millennials. Not all of us decided to play video games, and not all of us are lazy, right? But this also comes with the acting as if our generation was just handed perfection and that we're shitting on the perfection that we were handed. And that's not true. They're acting as if we don't work hard. That's not true.
I'm gonna answer your question like this. Are there outliers? Yes. Are there an exception to the rule? Yes. But we never make a rule to the exception. Yes, you could look at the literature of how white feminists tamp down boys. You really think that women can go out there and do equal to what men can do? Something that comes natural to us, which is logic. You have to train them. But you tamp us down to make it like, well, we could do it too. And guess what? The only reason a woman could do a lot of this shit is because they got to infiltrate your mind to believe such. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. Yes, your fathers and your forefathers have the right to bitch at you when you're not doing shit according to plan. Let me tell you something about when people. Yes, I live in Baltimore. We basically
just real quick. What plan?
Huh?
What plan?
I'll answer it. I'll answer it.
Okay. All right.
Number one, you go to any culture, especially that old Jewish father. Hell, more so that old Jewish mother is strict on her son because she knows that boy is supposed to carry that next generation even further than hers did. You look at them Asian fathers, them Arabic fathers. The plan is to do better and to be better than we were. We took the fucking beatings and we gave them back so you didn't have to. See, you got a semblance of racism. Okay? You got a semblance of racism. You didn't get the full blunt exposure as a lot of the silent and baby boomers had. I'm in Baltimore. We basically invented redlining.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, you got motherfuckers who got the same architect only 2 blocks away. One house worth $75,000, the other house worth $400,000 or $300,000.
Utah place.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, because white people may not want you in their neighborhood, they legally can't do shit about it. That's the difference. You could get arrested for being in a fucking whites only bathroom, and that was the best thing that could happen to you.
You get your ass lynched.
When first of all, look, it was not uncommon in some parts of America in the broad daylight to see a nigga hanging up on a fucking pole or a tree.
Have you seen the pictures? Well, you haven't seen in the pictures.
And see, this is when we compare apples to oranges. Hold on, Truth, you got it after this. When we compare stories, yes, a lot of us are supposed to be doing a lot of fucking better because we're not dealing with the same type of racism. Yes, we're dealing with covert racism, which in some parts are worse. But guess what? I'd rather you say the SAT test, a credit score, than niggas need not apply. Because once you make all the prerequisites, now you got something that your parents, your great grandparents could not do, was sue. Because the problem with it is we like to struggle bond instead of strategize and bond. Do I need to say that again?
Mm-hmm.
Say that again. Mm-hmm.
We like to struggle bond instead of strategize and bond. Okay, go ahead, Truth.
Another thing, man, like when you see, look, you haven't seen enough pictures of that shit, bro. Like at this point, like when I was younger, you know, like before when I was more naive, and I just would see it every once in a while, I would just bring heat to my head and stuff, and I don't know, just couldn't even describe the feeling. It's just the feeling of shame and then pure rage at the same time. But now that I've seen so much of it, at this point, I'm just desensitized to it. It doesn't even compute anymore. Just seen so many pictures of niggas hanging from trees, fucking decrepit, and white people smiling and shit, and niggas getting their hands cut off, niggas getting burned alive. I mean, all white people and all smiling. And I seen pictures where a nigga hands was being sold, a nigga balls. And they had fucking preserved the man's penis and was selling his penis in the store, my nigga. In the front window, bro. His penis, my nigga. They sell your eyeballs, your brain, nigga, your liver, your heart. They just take you apart like a take you apart, like just out the box, like you were 100 set puzzle pieces for like a picture. They just take you apart piece by piece, to sell you down. I mean, where do you think the term picnic came from? Like,
no, that's not where picnic came from, bro.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
It's not. It's a French word, piquois, or however you pronounce it. But that pick a nigga shit, no.
Oh, was it? But all right,
hold on.
This
Hold
other
on
term.
Hold on for a minute, Truth. I'm gonna say this. Okay, Azrael, how did the boomers allow gentrification?
Yeah, I want to see this.
Because
What?
if
Yeah,
anything,
that's interesting.
Because number one, Your boomers were the reasons why you had a black community. Okay? I want to see how. Please prove to me how they invoked gentrification when they were the ones who had to basically buy up properties in black only neighborhoods and to give you a community.
Wait. You said that they had to buy up properties in black only neighborhoods.
Basically,
Yes.
they gave you the communities. A lot of your boomers who had either a military service to get the GI Bill, because a lot of black people were not out of poverty till the 60s and damn near the 70s. So a lot of your people who could afford a house was what?
They were World War II veterans.
Exactly. World War II or Korean veterans.
Which was the silent generation.
So a lot of your boomers who were also Vietnam vets, and trust me, Vietnam was hellacious. Not saying Winnie War wasn't, but that was hellacious. That was where we got the start of the term unconventional warfare.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Interesting history.
So a lot of people need to read up on their history before they speak. Boomers pass down wealth. You know what happened to Gen X and older millennials? You fucked up the houses. Or you hurried up and sold the bitches and squandered the goddamn money.
Yeah. Carter G. Woodson wrote about that shit in 1830. Because we were doing that shit for that long.
Like, again, there's always tactical errors in every operation, right? And what happened was with Gen X, a tactical error with Gen X, or part of it was the integration of schools. So there's a huge portion of Gen X on top of the crack cocaine era. You were led to believe that racism was in the past and that it was all good. And whenever you saw Martin Luther King, it was always on a VHS cassette in black and white, right? Or Eyes on the Prize and PBS, and the footage was made to look old, right? Not knowing, you know what I'm saying, not really respecting time and saying, I'm sitting in class in 1988 at age 11, and 1968 was only 20 years ago. Right. And so when you're that young, these are the things that you don't fathom, right? And so it goes like, so for example, when you look at all the guys on the panel, you're gonna see history and information differently, because like I was talking to some people offline, and I was saying that even when the manosphere itself, like, guys who come out of the warrior class are going to see things differently, and their actions will be animated differently as for those who come out of the philosopher or the priesthood class. Right, so it's different. The information that they can intersect, but the information will also mean completely different things. Right, so so for example, somebody else in the manosphere could take some information and just see it as history, and then Charles and I will read it and see it as a direct threat.
Right? All right. So my idea was for us to have our own Department of African American Affairs. That's what my summation over all of these years of studying what's been going on with us is that we need to be able to group ourselves together. I mean, even starting as men, to group ourselves together, so then that way we can start minding the business of Black people in this country, right? To do something about what has happened over all of these years. And BGS was one of the ones who absolutely shot it down. Okay, so let's say it gets shot down. What do you guys think that we should do from here in order to group? Because you guys have a lot of skills and a lot of abilities, especially coming from the military. So what do you think that we should do in order to get this thing on track a little bit?
I'm going to say this. It's better to build strong boys than to repair broken men.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't aim for the boys now, you might as well say fuck it.
So what does that mean, and how do we do that?
In
Infect
other
them niggas.
words, just like I said, you might have to become you, me, whoever, Sandor, Dead Set, Truth. One of us, all of us, gonna have to come together from like Voltron and start after school programs. But this is the problem with the new age of male. The new age male does not want to be responsible for the group. The new age male doesn't want to be the commander. The new age male wants to be the woman, not sexually, but he wants to be like, why can't people take care of me?
No, I think I do the work. I just want to be compensated for the shit
But
too.
there's
I
also
do
another
work.
angle to this too, because like in my case, I'm fighting for my son. I'm fighting for my son
Exactly.
and my daughter. And
Exactly.
so we have a very large obstacle. I would have already since last August, I've dumped $20,000 into getting my kids back. And it ain't over with. By the time this thing is over, and I think I finally got my head around it, I'm going to have spent about twice that amount in 1 year. And then once I get them back, it's a matter of untraining them from that bullshit that she just tried to instill in them and getting them back on track because they lost all of the discipline that I had instilled in them.
Okay, so just real quick, I one of my specialties is family law, right? So if you need some assistance or something like that, I could, because 20 grand is far too much money, right? and it's like they're holding the kids hostage.
That's what it
That's
is.
precisely what they're doing.
And so yeah, I have a lot of experience. Actually, I've helped Irv, and I'm still helping Irv with his situation, and a lot of other guys that I've even introduced to the space. So if you want my assistance, I can drop my link in the back chat or my email address. Get with me, and I could probably show you some shortcuts and some things like that because
we drop emails and phone numbers over here
because a lot of people don't know like what the lawyers know, right? So I go straight out of the law books and I know exactly like what it is that they know, and so if you tell them a few things, then they're more apt to do what it is that you're saying. But other than that, they're going to charge you. It's like they charge you for each line item that they have to do. And that's what runs up the bill. Right. And what they don't tell you is it's not over because it's you're going to be dealing with this till the kids graduate college if they go to post-secondary school. And that's at the age of 26. Right. So it's not over. I mean, a lot of guys are dealing with the same. Hey, I have 2 children. And you best believe my wife, she gives me a lot of the same pushback, right? So I have to get with you guys, to work with you guys so that we can build something for them. And we have to put, for me, the way I look at it is that we have to have something for them because there shouldn't be an excuse for my children, right? For them not to work hard, for them not to be the best people that they can be, but we have to give them the opportunity, right? So my question is, how do we do that?
But you see, I wanted to go a little bit deeper than that because one of the things that I used to rail against when I first came onto the manosphere is that we don't engage in enough groupthink. Because when I start talking about groupthink, people start saying it's like, oh man, they don't even understand what groupthink is or what unified goals are. And it's almost as though they think they're getting, their individuality gets lost in it, which for a military man, this just makes no sense. Oh, thanks for the link. And for my own children, I know exactly which direction I want them to go. And I also know that I have to associate them with the children of parents who have like minds. And we need to engage in that type of groupthink because for me, specifically, I think this is a generational battle. It's not going to be. We're not going to gain the type of grounds that we want to gain in one generation. I'm thinking like 100-year plan.
Boy, you thinking deep and well ahead, man. I got nothing but accolades for you, man, and respect. You hear me?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, 100 years. Hopefully, by the end of this 100 years, we back in fucking charge.
Well, the point is, I won't be allowed to see it. That's the whole thing. And so I
Shit,
have to
nigga,
do my part.
You know, hopefully we all can live to get our flowers and to see this turn around a little bit better. But it's going to have to be work to do. You know, I'd like to thank everybody coming up on the panel. Great conversation. Probably one of the best shows.
Can I say one thing? One thing. Also, Faulkner, before we take off from here.
Go ahead.
Moses didn't live to see how his people, the Israelites, that he took out of Egypt, when he said, "Pharaoh, let my people go." He didn't get to live to see how they lived life in their holy land either.
Cool.
Neither did he step foot in the holy land with them. God said, "No, you've done your job. Step off." You hear me?
That's exactly where I'm at.
Man,
you don't think that hurt Moses' heart more than anything else? You hear?
Yeah. And then guess what? That's what the Chinese thought about it. They said, we're going to plan for the next 200 years.
But Charles, 100 years, all the OGs and the elders gonna be soft as shit.
No, they're not.
Not if we prepare our sons now. That's the whole point.
Right.
This is the reason. This is the reason why we're knocking you over the head for the day you have children, how to go about it correctly and to go against the pitfalls we went through. That's what we taught you and gave you.
Sometimes to be soft is good, though, too.
And sometimes we try to be soft. Go ahead, say that again, Eric.
I said sometimes it's good to be soft, especially when you talk about family relations with children.
Right.
Sometimes,
well, yeah,
a little bit soft.
You niggas soft in terms of dealing with women in life.
Like,
but you see, I never lost that old mantra.
Quality in their ass.
I never lost that old mantra that, you know, some of us older cats. I held on to it. I don't care who it is. We got to work twice as hard and be twice as smart. Plain and simple.
And somewhere along the line, we lost that. But I believe that from listening to you guys, all of this military talk is something that's absolutely essential amongst Black people, because we actually use the same things in business, right? Is that you guys just word it a different way, but it's a totally different language that you guys use. But it's absolutely essential that we are able to pass these things down to our boys, right? In business, there's things that I've learned that I need to be able to pass down to the younger generations. You see, because I'm just going to use these loans, for example. Buying these loans, it enables jobs to be created, right? And so that we can employ our own people. But the issue is, one of the issues is that when we employ our people, we need to make sure that they have the skills and the abilities to be able to do these things. Now, that's left up to us. That's left up to us because as we can see, like, there's not a lot that's left for us right now. I'm not a complainer. I'm a doer, right? But I need you guys' help. And what I've heard here tonight on the panel, absolutely freaking amazing. But how can we get that? How can we mobilize? I think that's one of the things that we have a huge issue with is the mobilization.
And that's the part where Deadset was talking about is the groupthink. The first step to planning is actually knowing what your objective is and how, and then the next part is planning on how to take it. Their military, I'm gonna end it off with this one. Military science dictates if you do not command the land, sea, and the air, you must infiltrate the system and take it as if it was your own from the inside.
Right.
Do some
And all
social
the
programs.
and all together now. 1, 2, 3.
Woo!
Another class. This is another classic, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Woo!
All right.
Good night.